chose.
Yeah. True.
I chose poor quality audio. It should still be good though. It's
No, you're perfect too. Okay, I announced that we are starting. I also started the stream. Going to close this up. Going to also share the Steam page of the game.
Yes, please.
Real quick. Okay. Let me just check if everything is working fine. Okay. Please say something.
Test
Hello.
1, 2.
Okay.
Testing.
Please say something.
Test
Hello.
1, 2.
Perfect. Okay. I always rather do a bunch of double checkups just to make sure that everything is working fine. Sorry for that.
Oh no, absolutely. I appreciate it.
Okay.
You're better than IGN at this point.
No.
No, Danny knows what I'm talking about.
I might.
Yeah.
I mean, IGN had its golden age. Like I grew up on IGN too, so
Oh,
every media had its golden age where like
Oh yeah.
they didn't.
I just find it fascinating how it's so much of the traditional media transformed after just dominating the market. IGN had everything cornered for the longest time.
Yeah, like,
and then they just started fading, you know?
Yeah,
It's
like we
wild to
talked
me.
about it before, that people are going for the views, and it's crazy. It's also with the view button system that like they are building up views and they are getting money from the ad companies. But it's another topic for another day, I guess.
Yeah, it's a long conversation.
Yeah, but I appreciate it because like I said, I'm passionate about these things too, and small changes need to happen in order to like change this whole scenery in the video game industry.
Agreed. And that's why I love what you're doing, man.
Thank you.
The small changes that end up being the big ones later.
Literally.
You. Like I mean that seriously.
Thank you.
You and Radiant too.
Thank you.
Big champions.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Okay, so let me know if you are down, all of you down to start. Let me know.
All right.
Yeah.
I'm good.
Okay.
Do it.
Right.
So welcome everyone in the very new episode of my Dev Live show. Today I'm joined with the developers of the game called Ink Inside. First of all, I would like to say that I'm very thankful and very honored that you joined us for today's episode of my Dev Live show. And like I'm always saying, let's start with a little bit of introduction. So please, each one of you introduce yourself for us.
Okay, I'll start. My name is Richard Mansfield. I am the writer, producer, director of Ink Inside. And yeah, we made a really fun show with the help of some pretty cool people that are also going to introduce themselves right now.
Thank you for that.
Go for it.
Hey everybody, it's your boy Radiant G. I am one of the producers on Ink Inside and a voice actor as well. I voice Queen Princess, Cat Hat, and do creature sounds for a few of the bosses.
Thank you for that.
All right. I'm Danny. Hi, everybody. I go by Danny Rampage on the internet. I was a technical animated rigger. I did a bunch of stuff, and it comes to making these characters come to life. So anything that you see on screen, I rigged it. And also, I had a huge help from the rest of the people team, from Brandon and Sid, who are animator and also the character artists. So big shout out to them. I just made them have bones. They made the characters come to life. So,
dude, you're a wizard. Don't sell yourself short.
I get props.
Yeah, just real quick story, very quick. Okay, so like going into this project, I hired Danny, and I was like, Danny, I just want a system that auto rigs models that have human shapes. And he's like, okay, so you're not going to have anything with more than one legs, like more than one pair of legs. I'm like, no, it's all human shaped. And he's like, okay. Yeah. And then we get to some bosses, and he's like, I hate you because we built this like auto rigging tool, and we had like these giant like spider creatures and stuff. And I was just like, well, we'll get it to work. So Danny like hacked his own work to like basically get a rig that would have been multi-limbed to work on a two-limbed rig, right? Or a two-legged rig.
Something or other like that. There's a lot of black magic that happened within it. So it was an auto rigger that was designed to work with one type of specification, but we made it work for a myriad of specifications. So I'm actually pretty happy about how it turned out.
To say the least. Thank you so much again, Danny. Yeah,
of course.
I see. Thank you for this.
We even made work for the boss that had more legs when it finished than when it started. So.
Yeah. We literally had a boss who just kept adding legs to it, and then we were like, oh, Danny, we're sorry.
Which is fine.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay. Thank you for this story. The very first question would be, by the way, what was your very first contact with video games as a player, if you remember those times of your past? So from the player's perspective, and what were those memories? Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I
guys
got
cool
one.
if I go?
Go. No, you, Rich.
Go.
You're the dude. You're the dude, Rich.
This is so crazy though. I was very young, 1985, and the NES like had just come out like the previous year, basically. And I found it because a really cool babysitter of mine brought it over to my house, and I was like, at the time, I think I was 2 or 3. So like my first memory of playing video games was literally watching this guy play Mario, the original Mario. And he let me try. And I barely have hand-eye coordination. I didn't know what I was doing. But from that point, I was like obsessed, And every time he came over, he's like, I got this new game. And then slowly growing up over the years, getting into like the 88, 89 era, I was like old enough. I'd play with my older brother and sister. And they were just amazed that like, some 4-year-old was like picking up video games. But I was basically a Gen Z before that was like a thing. So actually, I just had a really cool babysitter that brought it over an NES and blew my mind, like absolutely melted my mind that like video games were a thing. I was so used to seeing cool stuff on TV, I didn't know you could like control it. So that was it, man. That was history.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
For me, my very first experience playing video games was when I was 4 years old. It was a game that was already pretty old at the time. It came out years before I was born. But it was Commander Keen 4.
Okay.
It was my dad's favorite video game, and he showed it to me. And that I fell in love with video games. I started making my own games on like paper and index cards when I was 7. And I started making my own digital games when I was 10, and a lot of my original games were actually Commander Keen fan games, and I still love the games to this day. So
you might do a big one, right, in the future?
Yeah,
and then
probably.
My first Nintendo game was Pokemon.
Okay. There you go.
Okay.
Did you ever do any TI-83 calculator games? That was my jam.
Oh yeah. The block one was my favorite, where you could like push around the block. Yeah.
I got in trouble in high school because I made a game that was disarming a bomb. and if you didn't disarm it, it would show like it's like a 5-frame animation of a person's head exploding that I like made in graphing calculator. So I was really popular with the teachers, let me tell you.
Story.
Yeah, it's funny enough. I actually think I still have that game on a calculator. I'm not even joking.
Show me it.
I will. If I could dig it up and the batteries still work, I will absolutely take a video. But I gotta
very nice. We will include into this conversation, right?
Yeah, right. So Danny, first
thank you, by the way.
My story, it comes from my mom. I can't remember the exact year, but I was a few months old. So actually, it still must have been 93 then. We had Super Mario World on the Super Nintendo. And she remembers that my brother liked playing. I guess my brother was born in '90, so he had played it. He was about 5 years old, or no, 3 years old. What year is it? And I had the controller in my mouth, and there exists a picture with the actual Super NES controller in my mouth, and I would be pressing the Y button, and I think it was Y, or was it the A button, the right side, right?
Yeah.
And Mario goes, throwing.
Yep.
She was like, he loves doing the throwing. I don't know what he's doing. I would hit that button. He would spin with the cape, the Super Mario World. And that was my first experience as a child. Ever since that, I was playing a lot of those Mario games. I still had a regular NES growing up as well. And I have a lot of early memories of that first level in Mario, Super Mario Bros., as well as Duck Hunts. I still have my Zapper somewhere too. Nice. So those are my earliest memories. I was born in '93, but like my memories are like kind of scattered of old stuff growing up. But yeah, it was a good time.
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Great answer.
From those times of your past that you mentioned that all of you loved playing video games and grew up with playing video games, what was that light bulb moment for you in your life when you realized that, hey, I would like to work on video games as well? So it's not just my passion for like playing games, but I also would like to be in the creative sphere or era of the video game industry.
Yeah. I'm going to start.
Oh, okay.
Do it. Go for it. Go for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just because I already kind of talked about it.
True.
When I was 7, I made my first game, and it was actually about cows and dragons, and it was inspired by when I played Spyro, the original Spyro trilogy. So that was like the moment where I was like, okay, I want to make a cool game with dragons in it. And then for some reason there were also cows. And yeah, that was where it all started.
Nice.
That is a great story. Started with cows and dragons.
Yeah.
It's like, you know, who won? We all have
I
a
wonder,
story.
right? Who won? I wonder.
Yeah,
In the game.
it's technically mine also kind of starts with a dragon, kind of. Since I played a lot of games on the Nintendo and Super Nintendo, I ended up getting drawn to RPGs. So I played a lot of them, and when I was about 10 or 11 or 12, I started getting really into them because it's like, oh, it's an interactive story. And at this time, Final Fantasy 3, actually 6, was out in the United States. So I was like falling head over heels with this like dark fantasy kind of adult story that's on a Super Nintendo. And then Secret of Mana drops, and Secret of Mana changed my life, basically.
Yeah.
I actually still have just grab this mint in box Super Nintendo Secret of Mana.
Nice.
Like that's how much.
Use some props then. All right, I'll get my prop ready.
Do it. So
Get my prop ready. Go.
yeah. Long story short, just playing that game, it dawned on me what a game could be. It didn't have to be a story. It didn't have to be a narrative or characters, even a simple mechanic. It's the combination of all of them to create an experience that actually involves the player. So movies and books and all those I love, but they're passive. They're very much just you absorbing what the author made, right? Video games are the only chance that as a creator, you can interact with your audience. You can create a game that's like, I'm giving someone a little trail of cheese to follow. And it's really cool to see what people do. You know, some people do it well and they have a great experience. Some people ramp off the side of the stage to figure out speedrunning strategies. But the point is, it's the only artistic art form that I know of that like literally encourages audience and participation. And that makes people closer to that art. And also more involved in the story that art has. So once that clicked in my head, I was like, okay, well, I just want to make games from now on. And so I like jumped into like really weird things. Like I started 3D modeling and did like tiny little games. The only ones I ever finished were on my calculator, and you already know what that story ended. I went with the principal in my high school being like, why'd you make a game about building bombs? And I'm like, it's disarming bombs. It didn't matter.
You were the first one who thought about Rainbow Six games, right? Yeah.
Yeah. The game was simple. It was literally you just hit a bunch of codes to like disarm the bomb. You have to guess the code. That was it. And then like if you did it right, you had to cut a wire. And it's like, what wire do you want to cut? So not really like Rainbow Six level, but
it was the very first idea of that, right?
Actually, sure. Yeah. I'll take credit for that. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah. Mine. I know when it started. It was September 1998. I'll never forget it. I'm wearing the Leon drip, obviously. So I played it on the Dreamcast. Resident Evil 2. So it was 99. I played it a bit late. Came out a year later. I didn't have a PlayStation grow up until I had the PS2. So then I was kind of late. But I was a Dreamcast baby. Yes, I got my lighter. I got my lighter.
Okay.
So
dude.
Okay.
That was it for me. I remember playing those games. I remember the journey of like being 6 years old, playing Resident Evil 2 in, growing up on the Dreamcast, and those the scary hallways and the scary lickers and the you would hear. I remember just thinking like, this scene was cool, but I would do it like this. And I remember just having those thoughts of like, but what if this happened instead? Or what if this happened? Or what if we had this mechanic? And I started thinking about those things. And I remember the exact moment, and I thought about it because I'd been playing so many games at this point, and I was thinking like, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I also do that? And that's kind of how it's been my trajectory of my life. Quite literally just like, why don't I do that? Why can't I do that? And then I kind of just fell into what I did. So I really love cinematics. I really love, animating, rigging, and everything that comes with it. I went to film school thinking I was going to go to do stuff on film, but I ended up doing games in the end of the day, right? So that's kind of how it started for me. Just had that one little light bulb moment of, why can't I do that?
What made you, if you don't mind me asking this, by the way, what made you choose film school that you mentioned? Because you told us at the beginning, right, that you always wanted to make games from that point of your life.
Because I had a perspective. No, of course, I had a perspective of like I wanted to be doing something, creating a visual something, whether it was movies, TV, behind, in front of the camera. I've done both. I went to film school for that. I did theater for 5-6 years of my life. So I enjoyed being in that environment, that type of creative world where you just do And it's like this or nothing, right? Because if you do theater, the show must go on. So this is like, it was kind of a zen place to be in, where it's like, you know the number, you know the song, and you just do it. And I love that about games, because it's the same idea. The game doesn't stop. You can pause, you can turn it off, but the game just goes, and it just keeps going. You get this zen place of, you know, this just is what it is, and it's art, and it's no longer yours as a developer, but it's the world and how they see it, right? It's theirs, not yours, theirs, once you release the game. So that's why I did film school. But then what really resonated with me was that when it came to art, film for me just wasn't passion. I would go home and I would play games, right? I wouldn't go home and watch a movie. I would go home and play games. And to me, when I found the things that I would always do, I wanted to give back. I wanted to give what I find comfort in to the next generation, and I did, and I'm very happy about that. So, yeah.
I also went
sorry.
Well, I was gonna say I also went to film school. I was originally planning to go into animation because I loved character design and creating, you know, characters, and 2D animation specifically was my passion. I kind of ended up in games by accident. I had been a hobby dev for a long time, right? I had been just making games for fun. And after I had done school, I had done a few games classes, but I had also, for film assignments, I would ask, can I make games? And I would do like visual novels and platformers and like turn them in like for film assignments. And I'm like, okay, well, obviously like this is something I want to do. So when I graduated, I took some time off for myself, and then when I started to look for work, I was like, well, what if I look for games jobs too? And the very first job that I applied for out of college was a games job, and I got it. I only applied for one job, and I was in the industry. So, and I better.
You were brave enough, we can say so, right? You were brave enough with your choice to do that, because that's the hardest thing, in my opinion, that a lot of people are afraid to do that first step in order to like, get into the video game industry, or to get into any dream of theirs. So yeah.
That's very true. Funny enough, I also went to film school, but
okay, that's the connection.
Pretty much the same story. Yeah, it very much is. Yeah.
Okay.
I likewise was like, maybe movies, because like I just love storytelling. Period. Doesn't really matter the medium, like writing or video games or movies. I like it. I'm a big fan. And for movies, I just happened to find a lot of attention there, as in like I got really good at producing, and there's not a lot of good producers in film school, and they are very valuable if you find a good one. So I ended up producing like a ton of short films, and that actually got me like jobs and stuff. So I ended up like following that career for quite some time, and then I realized it was Hollywood's not going anywhere nice that I like or want to be a part of. So I just left and decided to try to pivot somewhere else, and ended up actually working for my favorite company. A friend of mine runs this game studio called Grumpy Face Studios. And Grumpy Face had a lot of Cartoon Network contracts for making not just mobile games, but platformers for any console. And they made some really good Cartoon Network games. I played every single one. I was their bug tester for 13 years. And then eventually he's like, hey, you know what you're doing? You know how to run this stuff? There's a very funny story about the game Steven Universe Save the Light, where literally the day before its launch, I came over and did a 24-hour bug testing session with a friend of mine just to like, let's fix everything. And
that's passion, man. That's passion. That's true.
Yeah. So that was my job interview for 5 years later. I ended up being a producer there, and then the rest is history. But it's just interesting that now more than ever, I think there's actually a ton of overlap between movies and games. True. Because as games become more cinematic, a lot of what makes movies cinematic is kind of like people are looking for. Take that, bring it over to games. Like Danny's expertise is like literally the same as a director on television. You know, like Danny knows how to direct these people and animate, how to get their performances to look good through motion capture, and that's like not an easy thing to do.
True.
Danny, you're really good at it, man. That last cutscene was like powerful, man. He directed the very final. Can I say that? Is that cool? You want to say it, man?
You say
for the people to know.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, people like know.
Yeah. He did one of the motion things for people to know. The very end of that trailer, the last trailer dropped, that song is very beautiful, and I'm just like, man, Danny, hats off. And I'm just pointing it out because in film that would be like a director's job, and now in video games it's a director's job, but it's live action motion capture.
He always went back to the film school studies, we can say so, right? So
if you learn how to pace Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Yeah, no. The beautiful part about me, I mean, I did graduate from film school as my undergrad, right? But the beautiful part about that is that I also had a theater background, and I was able to use all of that plus my game development experience. You know, I was a layout artist on that, but also I directed all the scenes, all the stuff that you see on People of Note. I think 7 of the songs on that game that are on the Annapurna game, I actually did. They were my concept, my layout, and they're actually using it to finalize the game, which is just like a beautiful thing for me. And I can talk about it now because People of Note had a big trailer come out. So check that out, please.
It means you did good work, dude.
Yes,
I also did theater for 13 years, so
small world sometimes.
You got a good background,
Very true.
Yeah. The big point I wanted to make, and then I'll stop talking about it, is simply that I highly encourage anyone that wants to get into game development to actually try film school. Because, hear me out, film school actually gets you to understand narrative design very well. You can write a script, and guess what? That means you can write a game. Because I think that the number one thing a lot of people that make games are missing is a script. And hear me out. It's not just like mechanic A, mechanic B, or hey, this person says A dialogue. No, write a beat-for-beat script of how the game plays. I want my player to enter this room. When they enter that room, there's this thing that's a question. Okay, that question is then answered 5 scenes later, you know? So, yeah, if you understand narrative design as applied to a script, you can understand narrative and game design as applied to a game. So I find it very valuable that the lessons being taught in film school can easily be picked up and applied to games. And I think now more than ever, they're valuable because a lot of those lessons aren't being taught in game schools. You know, like how to write a good story, how to perform.
Yeah, because game schools, most of them are more specific, right? We can say so. And what all of you said about like being at film school is that it really like helped you having this like learning curve or learning phase in your life in order to not just step or make the first step right away into the video game industry, but learn before you step right into the video game industry.
100%.
So it really makes sense. And I talk, like I said, I talked to a lot of developers in this show of mine, and a lot of them like had these like past when like moving in towards like their dreams and like being a game developer, that like they might regret like not stepping sooner into the video game industry, but they always like realize that those years help them grow as a person and as a developer as well on a human level.
So. And I also like to bring my narrative expertise to up and coming game developers. I've done a guest lecture at a few different game school programs to help them out with designing interesting narratives and how to do that with branching narrative and what that looks like. And I've also done it at a few conventions as well.
Okay. That really helps people also grow, not just for you, but for them as well. Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah, anywhere you can get skills to pivot into games, it's valuable. As long as you look at it that way. You know?
True. Very true.
To me, it's more of what you can borrow from other stuff versus like what is an actual good fit, you know?
Very true. And there is always a saying here in Hungary that like we always say as gamers that it's like not a bad thing if like some ideas are like we say it with the word of stolen if it translates to Hungarian, but like it's borrow more than like steal, right? Because like there are some crazy ideas which can be used in other games as well, and they work in those other games too. So it's like not stealing, but it's like more of a borrowing, of course.
It's actually funny.
It's not the right word, by the way, in English for that word that we use in Hungarian. But
I don't know. I think borrow is pretty good, honestly. That's how I was taught it in film school too. Is that when you go to make something new, you borrow from the greats.
True.
Yeah. So what's funny is that what you just said is very true for Ink Inside, because one of the core mechanics is based off of one of the previous RPGs we did was Steven Universe Unleash the Light. So basically turn-based action, but it was also originally for Apple Arcade, so we did have touch controls. And Pearl's Spear Throw, this was the third game we made in that series, so every single version of this game had this move, and every single time you used it, it actually was kind of fun to use. So instead of just like attack this enemy, go, this move was attack, and then you had to aim the spear, and then the touch controls, you had to pull it back with your finger and then let go. And the further you pulled it back, like the actual more damage it would do. And we always thought that was actually kind of a cool mechanic, that if we took that and really kind of built some other stuff around it, it could be like its own thing. So that's actually kind of what happened in Ink Inside, is we took that and the throwing of the dodgeball became that. It's basically, we took that spear throw and it became the dodgeball mechanic part of Ink Inside.
I see.
And the funnier part is that also was combined with another mechanic from another game. I'm sure you've heard of Super Dodgeball on the NES. It was like, pretty big back in the day. Everyone still remembers it. Obviously, there was a few dodgeball games that even came out the last couple of years, which is funny because we were like in the middle of development of Ink Inside, and they announced 2 dodgeball games, Knockout City and Dodgeball Academia, and I'm like, I was going to be the first one in like 15 years, and now there's 2. It was like, but it's fine. I love both of those games, especially Knockout City. That was really fun.
Yeah, it was a very unique game. And I'm sad that the servers are down. Yeah.
Me too. Yeah, and Dodgeball Academia too was actually really fun. Completely different than our game, but still really fun. And the point I wanted to make is that from those main series of games, from those dodgeball games, those dodgeball games kept coming out actually all the way up until 2008. We all think of that Nintendo version as being like the best, but that company still made more all the way up into the DS. And the final entry was called Dodgeball Brawl, where literally you threw a dodgeball, but then you could go to the center line and beat up other players. And it was incredibly poorly implemented. Like, it was not fun. It fell flat. The mechanic didn't work. But as soon as I tried it, I was like, wait a second. This could work if you just like twisted it a little bit. So we took that concept and we merged it with Pearl Spear Throw, and that kind of ended up becoming the combat in Ink Inside. You have ranged to prevent the enemies getting close to you, and then once they do get close, you can switch to melee. And then as long as you build up that like combo meter, you can make it all melee and just break the rules and go over there. Yeah. But I just wanted to point that out as we were talking about mechanics that games have that we kind of get inspired by, and I just wanted to, hey, FYI, there's 2 that inspired Ink Inside. And the funniest one is the Dodgeball Brawl, because like I've literally never met a human being that knows that game exists. And I remember playing it on the DS and being like, this could be so much better. Kind of like Danny playing Resident Evil 2. Like, this could be so much better. And then fast forward like 15 years later.
It happens,
I think we made it a little bit better.
Yeah.
One of the things that one of my professors in film school used to always say is if you steal from one source, you're a copycat, but if you steal from multiple sources, you're original.
There you go.
That's so true.
You combine
good artists borrow, but great artists steal. And what is that saying?
Yep.
Yeah, that one.
That's it. Yeah, that's the one.
There you go.
True.
I had a really fun professor in film school yell at me about how Star Wars is actually 3 other movies in a trench coat. And he's like, Star Wars shouldn't be popular. It's just Akira Kurosawa in this one war movie from 1942. And I'm like, okay, Star Wars is still fun, man. But
true.
Yeah.
And there is always like a deeper connection from the creator side, right? So it's like, even if you like combine ideas from like other creators' ideas, you can always put yourself into the craft you make. I always say that, and you in the most cases you cannot avoid it even. So it's like intentional that you do that as a creator.
Yeah, and I've always thought that was kind of flattering. If someone's going to copy your work or idea, that's more flattering than anything else because they like it so much they want to use it. True. Yeah, there is. Don't get me wrong. There's definitely a fine line between. Yeah. There's a dark side too. Plagiarism, but the bright side is there. It's actually kind of cool because I think a lot of modern games they don't want to tilt their hat to like. There's so many games that are coming out right now that are popular that I'm pretty sure are all thanks to Metal Gear Solid Rising: Revengeance from 2014. like pretty much every Souls-like or action game is just that game with like slightly new mechanics. And I'm not trying to crap on new games. I love new games. I love Dark Souls and stuff, but like those games are running and sprinting where like Revengeance just had the courage to walk, and I'm like, the fact that that's an Xbox 360 game is just Anyway. I could talk forever about a lot of games, so I'm going to stop right now.
I always say this, that like the expectation of the players and the human mind towards like video games and any like creative form of media. People started to act like they know what they want from a game or from a movie, but when you sit down one-on-one with them, they won't be able to tell you exactly what they want from, for example, a game, right? I always joke with this, that like they will shit in a game, but if you sit down with them and talk with them what they would like to be as a good game, right? They won't be able to tell you because they don't know if it's the story or the gameplay or both or the music or the cutscenes. Like, it's crazy to me, and that's how, in my opinion, having these too high expectations of what a game, of what a good game could be, that's how they end up like failing these expectations by like, you know, not lining up with their thoughts, and and that's how they end up like saying that okay, this is a bad game for them, because they don't understand what they want from a game. They just play games, and they don't see the point of like what they are playing for. That's why I hate, like, sorry to say this, but I hate like when people skip cutscenes, because like they are not part of the story, right? I read article, an IGN article about like the Uncharted, one of the creators, the story writers of Uncharted, Amy Hennig, if I remember correctly, her name.
I'm familiar.
Hennig, right?
Yeah,
she said that like most of the people, 70% of the people haven't even played through the first 3 Uncharted, which is crazy to me. And a lot of people didn't know that Uncharted 2, 3 and 4 has multiplayer, although it was like one of the first TPS multiplayers from the PlayStation 3 era. It really defined the PlayStation 3 all the like TPS multiplayers that we are now in love, like for example Fortnite, or they were like SOCOM in back in PlayStation 3 era. So it's crazy to me that people lined up towards the acting of like not caring about what they see. They just consume it, and it's like that's how you like not realizing the art or the work in those games, right? Or any form of creative media.
There's a difference between like pulpy video games and pulpy movies that are just like, hey, just put it on in the background, you don't need to think about this. And there's a difference between that and like art, people that really wanted this game to have a message and connect with an audience. And that differentiation, I think, is actually kind of lost. Those things get kind of meshed together. True. You don't really know if a game was made by people that were like, this is my passion, or if it was made because someone's like, I bet I can convince you to give me $5 for clicking on this cookie 1,000 times. You know, like, you really don't know until you play
the jumping hamburger games and the jumping pizza games and the jumping food games that are just released for trophy or owners, right? Who want to have a lot of platinum trophies. Trophy hunters,
and it's so to me, no, you're fine. So to me, it's funny because like, as someone that makes games, you have to make a very loud statement now more than ever why you're making a game. And that's, I think, the biggest thing that a lot of yes, exactly. And it's like so critical to not only make your game, but to know the audience that wants to play it, so you can talk to them. Because if you don't know who they are, you're just kind of throwing it out there, and you're like, oh, well, fingers crossed someone finds me, and that's fine, that's okay. But today, like, oh my goodness, 2025 saw like 15,000 games release on Steam, and 90% of them have less than 10 reviews.
It's interesting what you said, by the way. Sorry for interrupting you. There's a point-and-click, a very famous point-and-click series called The Goblins, with a lot of A's in it, or I, sorry. Okay. And the fifth one of the entry of the series wasn't like a very popular one, because like it wasn't... or not popular, but wasn't like recognized by the player that exists, because like the developer started not to care about promoting it. So in my opinion, sometimes there are cases where like people just want to release their game because they are in love with their projects, right? And they want to keep continuing. And especially like the older generation, they just want to release their passion projects. So they don't want to go face to face that, hey, here's my game, right? Buy it. Like some people just don't want to do that. Like,
yeah, I don't blame them. It's a completely different skill set, and it's not fair that I think indie devs now more than ever are expected to do that. You know, if you go to Reddit, like the indie dev subreddit, it's very useful. It very is, because it's a very realistic take on what it means to be an indie developer now. But one of the overall conversations going on right now is how you need to be a marketer too, in addition to an indie dev. You need to know how to market.
It's the other hats of the developers.
And so you need... Yeah, and it basically, creating games basically now boils down to, do you want to do this for a living, or do you want to do it for art? Because you can do it for art, but there's no guarantee that will create an income anymore, unless you do all these other skills. You know,
we can say so that it was always like that, right? So the very famous painters like died not earning any cents or dollars. So it was always like that, in my opinion. And I feel like the more it becomes a trend to like consume, and the more it becomes a trend to like create art, the harder it is for people to get recognized, because like we talked about it, and I said it before, is that like nowadays it's there are so many unfair things in the industry, in the video game industry, and not just like a lot of people are laid off, but like these clickbait news about games, also like this view botting and like also everything about which is unfair, which makes those people who are really passionate about their projects disappear basically, because they have to compete for the views even if they don't want to, right? So it's like
100%.
And I feel like go for that, sorry.
Yeah, attention is king, right? If you can hold people's attention, you can have them in your pocket, right? And it's a matter of where do you fit in the piece of this puzzle, right? And if so many games come out and nobody knows about them, and I think that's even worse than the game being, bad, right? A bad game can still be enjoyable. It's just because no one knows.
So
about
by the way, I
it.
don't agree that there are bad games to add.
No, I know. I'm just using that as an example, right? Yeah. It's the death of a game is when no one knows about it. That's
true.
The truth for me.
True.
So true. I really hope. I mean, we've all seen Steam make some pretty major changes over the last couple of years in terms of not just their storefront implementation, a bunch of other stuff. I think they know that they're losing money by not promoting these games. They don't care,
in my opinion. A lot of big companies. I
don't know.
I worked for video game producing companies, and what I've seen, I remember the Nintendo Wii U era where we as Hungarians had a lot of Wii U's not sold because in our country not a lot of gamers cared about Wii U. And I remember my boss told me that we have to sell back the Wii U's to the official Nintendo Europe company. And we have to ship back, and I was like, "Hey, wait a minute! We can still try to sell it on any other platforms, legally by our store." And they said they don't care because they lose money, but not that much. They have plenty of money in their pocket. So it's basically, I feel like those people who are leaders of this industry, giants, they don't care. They don't care about those small cents, right? For us, it would be, it might be a cost of a house or I don't know, a lot of houses, but they don't care. For them, it's just, it's just pocket money. So that's why they don't care.
I don't disagree with you. I actually fully agree with you. These people, I spent the last 4 years crapping on every major company I've ever worked for. So Danny understands. He's heard it. He's heard
it. I really do.
Oh, I'm sorry, Danny. You definitely do, and I won't say anything else.
Yeah, but people do change. People do change. Let me say this example. I remember I had a very fanatic friend of mine who was very hyped about Yakuza games, and he was always telling me these stories about Yakuza games when they weren't released in Europe and in US, just in Japan. And I remember being a kid hearing these stories, and there was a meme on Reddit back then and on Facebook too. And on MyVip, I saw it probably on MyVip. He told me that meme that there was the boss, the head of the creator of Yakuza games, right? And he was sitting in this roundtable talk with his fellow developers and major people who had these big monies of investing into Yakuza games, and some of them brought up this idea of maybe we should localize our game. And on the next scene he is not fired but thrown out of the window from a
out the window.
It was so crazy. And 10 years later, we have Yakuza games, and everyone is a fan of it, right? So it's if you let
the number one selling game for Sega.
If you let change come into the scenery of the video game industry, it can help everyone move forward, and that's why I'm always saying that. You said it before our stream that small changes can help, even if it's not you who will make the big hype, but another person will pick up. It matters. You mentioned, the gameplay idea that you saw on the Nintendo 3DS, and you picked it up because you knew that it will, have some options. And be better. Yeah.
And that's, I guess what I'm getting at is I think at least it's Steam. This is only at Steam, by the way, not anywhere else, just at Steam. They do seem to care about their developers to a degree more than any other platform. Way more than Epic, way more than other places. I'm not going to throw those places under the bus, but this is my perspective, just mine. And I'm only saying that because unlike those other platforms, Steam has made it easier for developers. They've made it easier to upload videos, easier to communicate with people. They've been very transparent too. They tell you way in advance, hey, we're going to update stuff. Hey, we're doing this. So to me, from my perspective, it makes sense because they had, like I said, 15,000 games come out by indie developers. And if they don't help those developers find success, they're going to have less games come out on Steam because there's going to be less people that feel like it's actually viable, right? So in a way, it is not just a profit incentive for Steam, it's being relevant Then Steam is right now the king. They're like the top of the pile, and I think they're there because they just simply didn't shoot themselves in the foot like every other company. That's another meme. But I think that they also have enough intelligence to understand that their demand, like where it comes from, isn't just people buying games, it's people making them. Like one of the biggest consumers of Steam anything is developers. Pay $100 to put your game on there. That means that Steam made like $115 million just on developers this year. Like, so to me, it makes sense that they would want that money, they'd want that crowd, they want to stay in the inn. They're still the place for an indie game, even more than itch somehow, but we now know because of the payment issues that's why. So that's really it. What I'm getting at is if any place might have a change of heart, like you're saying, it's possible. I'm not saying it's likely, I'm just saying it's possible.
Sure.
If any place has it, it might be Steam. And I'm hoping that they start seeing that the volume that they're getting in terms of content releases needs some form of the pressure release valve. There needs to be like a gallery of upcoming gems, or hey, if you bought this really big game that has 100,000 reviews, here are 4 just like it with 10 reviews.
Sure.
Like Steam could
Or
fix
0.
this in a or
that
0.
You mentioned
Yeah.
10 a.m.
Yeah, and like that thing is like Steam has a back end. They could fix a lot of the stuff like that, and it's not only a profit incentive for them, it's a market incentive. So I think they're not stupid, unlike other companies I won't name. So that's why I think there's a chance that they might actually at least push a little bit in that direction. And like I said before, just 1 or 2 small changes that are positively well received. Hopefully we'll see it. But I'm ultimately with you. I don't trust corporations. They're greedy. They don't care. So we'll see. But
I feel like some of the heads people of these companies, I feel like they do not see the art in their like it's a pyramid, right? So it's like there are people working under those big like leaders, and I feel like they don't see why they started it when they started from the scratch, right? When they built up from
100%. 100%, you are
one
correct.
to one, all the people in their companies, and they just lose their motivation of being real to themselves and to the company. They just want money, which is understandable in my opinion, because most of us are caring about money, right? We cannot avoid not to care about money. It's just I feel like you need to find a balance. And that's why I said that, connecting to your thought is that, when you mentioned that it's either making art or it's either to have a goal to make money. I feel like it's nothing wrong if you want to make money, but you have to realize what are you making it for. It's a goal of your passion, right? It's the same with music or movies, right? Because at the end of the day, you have to pay bills. That's how society works. You cannot avoid it, and you are not a bad person for it. So I feel like that's why I hate people from the player's perspective. Not hate. Let's redo
hate's
that
a strong
word.
word.
I cannot agree with those people who say that, for example, I don't like this game because this game is too expensive for my taste, right? Because I feel like that's what you cannot do when you go into a museum and say, hey, this painting is too expensive, it's not for my taste. What the hell? You cannot
still a good painting.
What the hell? Or I don't know, there was a serial killer who made a painting, and the painting is suddenly a bad thing, right? Because before he realized that there was he was or she was a serial killer, the painting was a good taste for that person, for that viewer, right? It's crazy to me that people really combine things that shouldn't be combined with when they make opinions about the craft that they consume, and that's how they, like I said before, that's how they end up not liking something, because they combine things that shouldn't be there. If it's serial killer who made any painting or a book, or serial killer who made a good game, it shouldn't be a bad game just because it's serial killer or a psychopath.
Yeah.
Well,
there are some. Sorry.
I don't entirely agree with you. For example, if you are reading a horror thriller about a murder, and you find out that the author actually did that murder, it is gonna taint the book, because that's what happened with Where the Crawdads Sing.
Oh, is that what happened with that? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's messed up. Well, to that point though, this is an eternal discussion, because it's really impossible to separate the art from the artist when money is involved. Because if you spend money on that book, it goes to that author, so that's kind of bad. You don't want to support that guy. But
that's why I brought up. Yeah, but that's why I brought up the museum. Is that
another conversation?
Yeah, no, that's where I was going. Is that with the museum, art is still art without money involved. You can still look at it. You can still get an emotion, and regardless of who created it, you can still judge that art as XYZ. Should you judge it based off of who made it? That's a completely separate conversation. But can you judge it based off of what it is? Yeah. But the thing is, the art and the artist are always intertwined to a degree. But the interesting thing about games is, since they're collaborative, that once they're made, they're really just a team effort. You know, it's not just like usually there's solo devs, obviously, but nowadays it's like that is a piece of art made by a team of people.
And also to add up, like I feel like a lot of like people are not honest when they talk about like their creative process, because there are a lot of people, in my opinion, who might be the like craziest people on earth. You know, they just do the craziest shit. They all on drugs, and they might not tell you because they are afraid to tell it, because they will be afraid that like, you know, if people or the public will know about it, like they will hate on that product that they just released. That's why I said that I don't agree with you on that. That like you said that there are some horror movies that people like, for example, love, but there was a very bad person who made it. Because there, in my opinion, a lot of horror movies were made by like crazy people, but it doesn't mean like the movie is bad, because like they had this like crazy mindset of or thinking about the word that we might not understand. It's bad, but like the movie, it won't make the movie bad, in my opinion, because like it's, you know, it's art. You cannot say that, hey, they told you that you should, I don't know, go to the streets and kill people. Like it's not about that.
That's true. Yeah, no, I think that's what I mean, is like from it's a conversation that's gone on for literally thousands of years as to whether the art is the artist and vice versa. So it's totally cool to have one opinion or the other. I'm very indecisive. I flip-flop on this
a lot of years ago, like people didn't care about
it.
It. Like that's the thing. Like we got more sensitive to this topic, in my opinion, as we grow up and as a human being. And that's the thing. Like we are just too sensitive about everything. Like I'm a very sensitive person. I can cry on all movies, but I try to be not sensitive when it comes to this topic, because like I feel like nowadays, let's be honest with everyone, like a lot of people do crazy things, or a lot of people have their, you know, bad side, but that doesn't mean that they are bad in total, or they are bad when they're creating, or they create something. That's what I meant to say, by the way, and why I don't agree.
No, that makes sense. No, that totally makes sense. For me, I'm just like at the point I was trying to make before, against monetary supporting those kinds of artists, as to whether or not the art is reflective of that person. I don't know. I'm not going to say yes or no, just because, like I said, I've been on both sides.
It's a hard conversation. True.
It is. Well, especially from like filmmaking background, you know, like I have a lot of respect for some filmmakers that I will just never watch their movies again, just because of how the kind of people I found out they are, you know, like I really love like Kevin Smith movies, but a lot of his early movies got made by the Weinstein Corporation. And as much as I love Kevin Smith, I'm not going to pay money to them anymore. Sorry. But thankfully, he is getting his movies picked up by another production company. So I'll buy them now, you know? So like, to me, I can say that I like those movies, but I can also not spend money on them when it's going to the wrong people, if that makes sense. Yeah. So it's really hard, because I end up being technically on both sides of that argument, where I'm against these people making this type of stuff, but I'm also for the art being
between
made.
The chairs on the floor, right?
Yeah, it's because at the end of the day, hindsight's 20/20. Like you said, you don't know if someone's making something's crazy.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Yeah. We already found out that I didn't even know the crawdad sing guy killed some people. I just learned that, and I already saw the movie. Now I feel bad, you know. Like, so that's why it's hard for me to.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it makes you feel bad because of the society standards. But like the society standards also lie to you, because there are movies which are intentionally like are there to make you feel bad or make the wrong things. But they are not considered to be those movies, right? There was this movie about, I cannot recall the name in English, like
that's okay.
The centipede.
Oh, human
centipede. Yeah, like for me it was like a most disturbing movie. I for example, for be honest, I'm not the most or the biggest fan of horror movies, by the way. Like I'm mostly scared about them, so I don't watch them. But like I like horror games, but from that movie, I remember like my friend told me to watch it because it's crazy, and I was like, okay, fun. I was very young, and like we watched it. We watched it, and I remember like still to this day thinking, if that person who made it, like he must had some crazy thoughts in his mind because of something. But here's the thing: from the society point, we need to help these people. We are not
Agreed.
We shouldn't be on the side of like pushing them to the to the
Yeah.
prison, to the
Yeah.
to the corner that hey, they are crazy people, because we end up building a society where if somebody is crazy, we are not helping them, but we are just
Yes.
locking them in, and we are not curing the main core thing that's inside of them.
We're
we are not
we're
we are
seeing-
not. Sorry,
Oh, I'm just saying,
Go for it.
we're seeing people as outside of the community when they're just a part of it. We're all humans.
Yeah.
We all have different ways of thinking.
Exactly.
And just because your way of thinking is a little bit different doesn't mean you should be kicked out because of it. It
Yeah, I'm
means you
not
should
saying
be
that on a
helped,
society
especially-
level
yeah.
it's good what they have
Yeah.
done. It's just like we have
Oh,
to
yeah,
help
yeah.
these people
Agreed.
to line up with others, and not in a way like they shouldn't be themselves. It's just like to understand the
yeah.
society standards, that you shouldn't be doing this or that. Like, and
Yeah.
that's the hard thing in my opinion. Like that there is. That's why I always say that there is no real standard. It's just society teaches us to be in a standard, but we don't follow it. Like, so that's how we end up like having these crazy times in our minds. How people do.
Oh,
that.
yeah. Do you
If
read
I
any
may.
philosophy? Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Sorry.
I'm
This is
going to talk for another
philosophical.
hour.
No, you're
Go
good.
for it.
Sorry.
I'm not a philosophical person, but I'm a very faithful person. But it's
Amen.
funny how parallels of my life happen sometimes. But I think the most important thing to realize here, it's been a very big discussion, at least in my home, in my life, in my worldview, if you will. It's all about intent. If
Yes.
people have genuine good intent, and I'm not going to quote scripture here, I'm not going to do that, but if you have genuine intent, that is the start of something beautiful, and I do believe that. If
I
you're
agree.
making art for art's sake, if you're making something because you're passionate, and if you're making something, if for the other way, if you will, then that tells you what that is. Art can be beautiful, but art can also be ugly. It's both the same coin, right? It's two sides of the same coin, yin and yang, right? But I think what's most important when it comes to just art and seeing the difference between an art and the artist is intent. If the artist was intending to do something that was nefarious, bad, evil, whatever it may be, then we can objectively look at something differently. I know that people can do that, right? But also subjectively, if the art itself
Yeah, but
is
there are
beautiful-
sometimes when like there is no intent, in my opinion. Like there, you mentioned suicide. People who talk about suicide, they are
boy.
not intending to like to talk about it because they want to change the words into their view. They are talking about it to release their pain. There are plenty of
good
books.
point.
Like there is an
Yeah.
Agatha Christie, the last Agatha Christie book that talk about her saying this sentence that there's a killer in every one of us, because like when she realized that her husband cheated on her, she wanted first to kill him. And she didn't do that because she realized nothing would change. And there was a sentence in that book. It's a very famous book. And that's how people realized how she also had this bad side of her. Not because she was a bad person, but because this whole problem with her husband, pushed her into that corner, into the dark corner. But that doesn't make her a bad person, right? Because it's a thought, and she didn't do that. And that's why I'm saying that intentions, on one hand, yes, it's true what you said, but on the other hand, with the same coin, or the other side of the same coin, I feel like there are some people who just not intentionally doing what they do. They just do it because they feel like it's that they need to release some things, their pain, their
that not
feelings.
intent?
No, that's not intent. In my opinion,
Well, I
that's
think
not-
that.
no.
Oh no! Like what Danny's saying is intent in terms of like the reason they're making the art. So if the art is like to release pain
but
because
like,
it's like
but like not intent in a bad way, because you mentioned that there
Yeah,
are some
yeah.
ugly intent or bad intent. It's not a bad intent.
oh yeah, no,
I didn't
not
say
at
that
all.
it was. I'm simply stating that it's always intended what we do, no matter what it is.
So if you're basically trying,
So do
to
you
get
say
rid of
that?
some-
No, sorry to interrupt you. So
That's
do you
okay.
say that as we as kids we always do everything on intent?
To a large part, yeah. I mean, I have two children. Do you have children or no?
No, I don't.
Okay, I do have children. I see a lot of things they do, and there's always a reason behind it. And it's about how when
It's
they
not
do
true,
something bad, there's
in my
okay,
opinion.
we can disagree.
Yeah, I
It's
feel
an
like
opinion, but I know it as truth because I have the children and I go through it every day. And I'm a father of these children. I'm a leader to these children. And when they do something, they do it for a reason. There's never been something just because. There's always been a reason behind it.
I
We
think
can
the
look at it
different-
different ways, but it's at the end of the day, really, it's a matter of perspective, right? You have the perspective that sometimes we do things without intent, but I don't agree with that. I have the perspective that everything is done through intent. But again, that's perspective.
I think that you're both right to a degree because it's like I think it's just a misunderstanding of what intent really is defined as.
maybe,
yeah.
Like
maybe.
to me, Yeah, because like at the end of the day, I think that people can be impulsive and people can do things for a reason, but I think that people can also get confused between those two things. I think that we can be impulsive and convince ourselves, oh no, I really want this. In reality, I just saw a billboard and I'm hungry, so now, yeah, I think I want McDonald's. In reality, that's just impulsive. I didn't really, want McDonald's. It wasn't my intent to go get McDonald's. I was driving, I saw that, okay, now I'm getting McDonald's. So like both of those could be considered intent. It's just when you take a look at my brain. If it was after I saw the billboard, okay, well now I intend to get McDonald's. But if it was before I saw the billboard, yeah, I was just going home, So like the fact that we are in a constant state of change and flux, that is always going to be hard to really cut apart what is true intent, as we'd want to believe it, because it's always going to intersect with impulse in ways that we have a hard time separating, like always. That's like literally the human condition, if that makes any sense. Like, does that make sense?
And also,
yeah. It's like your kids, very impulsive. I intentional,
agree that there's usually intent behind things, and I agree that intent does matter, but there are some times where effect matters more than intent. You might have good intentions going into something when you're creating a piece of art, but it was not seen by the right people before it went to the public, and it could have a very different effect than the intention.
Yeah. Very true, very true. Like there's a very infamous story about the Powerpuff Girls reboot. Are you familiar with the creator has a self-insert in it? Are you know about this?
I know exactly.
Yeah, so this will be a very quick, I promise, a very quick little side story here. So the Powerpuff Girls is a very famous cartoon in the early 2000s. It got rebooted in the mid 2010s, 2016. It was not very well received. I won't get into the details, but the creator actually is in the cartoon as a character, and that character is in kindergarten and ends up dating one of the Powerpuff Girls. So kind of on the like fan side of things, that looks horrible. Like, this guy that wrote the show, who's not writing it in a way that none of the fans like, created a character that looks just like him and has a crush on his favorite Powerpuff Girl from when he was a kid. That is disgusting. Like, no one wants to see that. So the problem is, that was not the intent. That was not him putting himself in there. His team designed a completely separate character that looked like him. And then the script had that character fall in love with Bubbles, or Buttercup, I can't remember. And this was totally not his decision. His team just thought, oh, this guy we have to create a character. This character has to fall in love with Buttercup for the story. Let's just make it look like the creator of the show, because that's kind of funny. So his team thought it was funny. And at the end of the day, the result, like Radiant is saying, very poorly received. Everyone saw that and was like, oh, the creator's a creep, wants to hit on Buttercup, because that's what it looks like. And the creator had literally no oversight in saying that, yes, make that character look like me. He just gave it a green light when he saw the design, So it's just kind of funny because well, it's an example of the intent of his team. Just wanted to be like, oh, we want to give you a little nod. We think it's a funny in joke, but the result is literally like an infamous meme that destroyed the show. It's like the audience was super toxic about this, and rightfully so. Like the result is literally like, hey, here's the guy that made the show wants to have relations with Buttercup in kindergarten. That's super bad, So it's just an example of like how a lot of times when you do create something,
because like people are only down to consume the end part or the end product, right?
Yes,
and not to see behind the curtain. And I feel like that's what like we are missing on a human level too. We don't care about each other. Like you mentioned with your example, like you're a father to two kids, if I'm correct, right? I was a father to like my ex-girlfriend's like son too, and I remember like being and raising him like for 4 years, just like he was my own kid. I feel like there were occasions where like he was just a kid, like and it wasn't like an intention that he did some things, like for example, like I don't know, talking about the grandparents that like he missed it. Yes, it's a feeling, but it's not an intention that like, for example, there was a case I remember my ex-girlfriend told me that like he literally saw his grandfather. And like he talked about it, and it was very scary to like realize that yes, there is like a word which might cats and kids see, but like this, I feel like it's so for in my worldview, emotions on one level are intentions, like you said, but on one hand, if you combine it with like biblical understanding of our own word, it's not intentions, because if you go back to the era of Adam and Eve, what we learned about or from the Bible is that like there were no intentions before like they ate from the apple. They were just living without like, you know, no knowledge about anything. They were just there, you know, existing. And that was the whole point. And it lines up with like the physical and mathematical views of like our society. I remember learning it at math and IT class at uni, that our teacher told us that we should realize our world like a pool, and there is a duck in the pool. And if you combine it with the number of infinite, there are infinite numbers of bigger pools in which there will be the smallest pool, which we cannot like describe. And from that, the duck can see all the pools, all the corners of the pools, even the biggest one, but he cannot jump in it. Or if he can, then he will be just jumping from bigger pool to bigger pool, but he will never like get into the biggest one or outside those pools, right? That's why I say that like intentions are there, but intentions are created to have a meaning for our life. But it doesn't mean that if we like put it in the very simple level of like the question of what we are like living for or what we are here for, we just realize that intentions are let's say, I'm not saying it's useless, but like we are not realizing how different we could be without this worldview or this society rules and standards, if you realize these numbers and mathematical methods of like our human life. I might not be like making like very clear points, if sorry my English is like
no,
not, yeah.
I'm impressed. You just made a really good philosophical article or argument about the duck in the pond. So like, I think you're making very good points, honestly.
Thank you.
And even if I might not agree with all of them, I agree with a lot of them. But even if I don't agree with all of them,
we don't have to agree. It's just I said that,
exactly.
Like, in my
opinion,
in my opinion, like I understand your perspective. Just I wanted to add that if I don't have my own kids, it doesn't mean that I don't want to have my own kids, or I didn't have those experiences. And I also remember that when I like had this opportunity with my ex-girlfriend to have, let's say, my own kid, because I treated him as my own kid. Before that, I always wanted to be a father, because like I remember how bad was for me as an experience when I was 12. I lost my grandfather, and like I always wanted to be a better father than my real father was, because only my grandfather was there. So that's why I'm saying that don't disgrace me for not being a parent like you are, because it's unfair from your point. But it felt like it. It felt like it, because like
he was just asking.
Have kids.
Yeah,
and I was coming from perspective of a father.
Okay. That's why I wanted to add to this point. Yeah,
of course.
Yeah,
no, makes sense. Yeah, 100%. And just my perspective on intent or whatnot, it's like it's just hard to describe, because it really depends on how you perceive, like, honestly, like, individuality, you know? Like, if it's up to the person, then that person decides what their intent is. But if it's up to the community, like we have 100 people, well, then you could have 99 people be like, that person's intent is XYZ. And then who is right? Is it the person that thinks their intent is X, or is it the community that thinks it's Y?
Yeah, but our society makes us think nowadays that if a lot of people agree on something, that's true. That's the whole case of being wrong, in my opinion. Like that ties up to our topic that we talked about before, and I started to talk about before our interviews.
100%.
Like, if a lot of people say that it's a bad game, all people agree. They line up like false shepherds or false realities, right? And or sheeps. Like, it's crazy to me that people just don't care to consume, don't care to learn about. And that would be one of our main goals as human beings, to learn. But people do not care about learning anymore. They just consume, and that's the whole point of this
That
mistake.
is very true. Yeah, I've noticed that too. It's very interesting that the like act of learning is kind of just like not really as active anymore. It's really
I will say people, especially children, want to learn, but their parents don't want to teach. They want to stick them in front of an iPad and do nothing on Cocomelon. So.
Sad but true. Yeah.
Let's switch up to a more personal question or personal topic of questions. Were your parents, family members, and close friends supportive about this decision of yours that you started making the moves towards the video game industry as a developer?
I'm very lucky in that my family is very supportive, incredibly, like way more than they should be. And that definitely helps a lot. But I have an interesting background too, in that A lot of times I'm used to taking a good hit and then just getting back up. And that's kind of, you were mentioning how a lot of indie developers enter the industry and then find out it's really hard, and that there's a lot of big players that just don't care about being creative, don't care about individuality, don't care about anything but money. And that realization can hurt a lot of people. A lot of people that get into the game industry thinking, if I make good art, it'll get recognized. And to a degree that is true. People will recognize it, but it doesn't mean that you can make money off of it. That's the separation right now. So the point I'm simply making is that I find it interesting that a lot of bigger developers are basically just trying to not really throw their hat into the ring, so to speak, if that makes any sense. Sorry, I'm getting off on a little bit of a tangent here, but at the end of the day, I just wanted to say that, yes, family is very supportive, but my best advice is simply that you can basically get into the game industry if you just have a lot of fortitude. If you could just take every hit that comes your way and get back up and you still make games, you can be successful. Even if you don't have a supportive family, even if you don't have a supportive job, if you're, I was in the film industry for a while and I was like writing game scripts on the side, like you can still do it. It's just a matter of being able to get back up once life hits you down very hard. Like you got to be able to take the hardest punches. You got to take people saying that what you made is crap. You got to learn too how to make what you make better to actually make it commercial. You have to learn a lot of hard lessons if you want to be financially successful in this industry, and it's very hard. But if you are willing to suffer a little bit, suffer for your art as an artist does, you can go far. I think that any artist that's willing to put themselves through it and then keep going will always become an amazing artist. So that's just my way of saying, regardless of the support you have, anyone can make it. You just got to really figure out a way figure out the path that's your own path and go down it no matter how painful it is. But it will almost always get you somewhere that you feel better about yourself as an artist. So that's 2 cents, a little too much information, but there you go.
No, thank you for that. Thank you for that.
I love it.
Yeah, for sure. I know a lot of us want the encouragement to get in this industry, and we don't have it from certain family members.
Sure.
So from someone that's lucky enough to have that, I just want to be that family member for anyone else that doesn't. If you're just looking to get into games, you make it. It's art. Do it. Doesn't matter if you make money off of it. But if you keep doing it, you keep doing it despite every bad thing that could possibly happen, you will eventually get great at it. Like literally great at it. And at that point, people will pay attention. You can make money off of it. It's just the journey is not very tolerable for most. It is very painful. So yeah. All right. End rant. All right.
Go Radiant.
And my family also supportive. As I said, my dad was the one who got me into video games. He worked in computer consulting for many, many years and likes to do startups, all those sorts of things. He also worked for Microsoft for many years. And then my mom and my older sibling, some of the earliest games that I worked on were me, my mom, and my older sibling would all work together to make custom Monopoly boards and like custom cards that had different like activities and stuff that we would come up with together. So very, very early in my life, I was making these. And my older sibling also made some of the cards for the card game that I made with the dragons and the cows. So I was surrounded by creative people growing up, and also like computer people growing up. And I feel like all of the best parts of that have been absorbed into my psyche.
Do you think like you have done it anyway if you didn't have this supportive background, mentally supportive background, and emotionally supportive background in your life? We discussed it.
Who knows? I would say if I didn't have the support from my parents, probably still, okay. But I feel that my older sibling was a big inspiration on me, because we always used to play video games together growing up. We were very close, so I feel like that was extremely important in my steps before getting to where I am today.
I see. Thank you for that. And thank you for your honesty too.
I love it. Hey, my turn. Yeah, I think I don't want to say I did or didn't have support. I was always just kind of told, do whatever you want, but do something you love, And I think in general, doing something you love is not always going to make you money. It's just not. And I think it's a matter of, yeah, right. It's just a matter of, for me, I wanted to do something that didn't feel like work. I didn't want to work. I didn't want to go to business school. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. I worked in retail. Obviously did theater. There's no money in those things. There just isn't. I worked many years in restaurant. Even tip of my thumb off. That's a great story. I've suffered physically, mentally.
You really suffered. We can say so.
Oh yeah, no, it's bad. But I think what's most important for me was finding something that I loved that I could do every day and it wouldn't feel like a job. My mom would always tell me, she had good and bad advice, but her bad advice to me was, job is by definition is doing something you don't want to do. I was like, Mom, what are you talking about? So to me, going to work, it just didn't make sense. Why would I do something I hated? It didn't make sense to me. So I just fell into game dev school, and I just went on a whim, and I left a bad home situation, packed up my 88 BMW and drove 2 states over, 12 hours overnight, and just said, that's it. I did it. I did something for myself, and it was the grandest gesture I could have done for my entire life.
Did you have fear
back
then? Did you have fear back then that you're choosing this path, that it might not?
Never had fear.
Okay.
No, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I think I was only scared in a sense of like, what if I don't make it? Like, everyone has that, right?
Yeah, true. That's why I'm asking.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, fear if I don't make it. But I mean, I never had fear of like, if I do make it, I made a bad decision. I never felt that. I always felt like this is what I'm going to do. You know, and once I found that comfort,
Damn straight.
Hell yeah, right?
Yeah.
Once I found that, it was just a matter of just go all in, and this is it. And I remember my now wife, I told her, like, this is it. There is nothing else that I am doing. This is what I'm going to do. This is how I'll support a family, and this is how it's going to be for the rest of my life. And I was all in on that. I think everything that I made it to where I made it today. But yeah, that was just how I felt about it. So yeah.
Damn Skippy.
Thank you for your honesty too. Thank you, I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Okay.
Just real quick note on that, just to top it off. It's just that I think that that's fine. Never mind. Next question.
Go for that. I'm interested. You're all interested. Go for that.
Yeah, look curious now.
Okay. So fear is a very compelling emotion for humans. It absolutely is something that forces us to make bad decisions, and sometimes the worst decisions of our life. When we're afraid, we turn off our logical part of our brain, and we just become whatever part of us that isn't human, in my opinion. So we make bad decisions. So what I'm getting at is that there's this phrase, it's called FUD, F-U-D, fear, uncertainty, and doubt is what it stands for.
Yeah.
And so it's basically, it's a coined term for what you want to eliminate when it comes to doing any kind of project. Any big undertaking. Eliminate the fear, eliminate the uncertainty, eliminate the doubt that it's not going to work. And I basically recommend most people that want to jump into any art form, just eliminate the FUD. There's no fear, there's no uncertainty, there's no doubt. There's only try. Just try it. Just try. If you fail, try it again. I said fortitude, that's what I mean. Just keep going. You keep trying, and eventually, if you keep trying, you'll get there. Because the worst fear, the worst feeling you could have isn't the thought that it's never trying. Yes. It's not the thought of what if something bad happens. It's way better to feel that feeling and push through it and try than it is to 20 years from then be like, if I only tried then.
Yeah, but that's sorry to interrupt.
Even 20 years from now, try.
Yeah, true. But that's why I said is that I believe that a lot of people. That's why I said before our interview is that like I believe that like best is always coming back or leaning towards people's life, even if they don't realize it just in a later age. That like you mentioned, like for 20 years people are not trying something and end up like regretting not trying. But I feel like chances are always coming back to people. Since I talked to a lot of devs in my show, a lot of them had these stories where like they wanted to be in the game dev, and they always had these ups and downs where they working as a game dev, not working as a game dev, because they had this constant fear, like you told us now. And like there was a point in their life where they had to choose, and there was another chance for them to roll up in their life, right? And they realized that these chances are rolling up every time in my life because it's wanting to show me something that I should do it because it's my calling. And I feel like that will happen to every one of us, no matter it's game development, no matter it's movie making, music making, or just doing a 9-to-5, it will go back to us. And what's funny to add to this topic, to this conversation, is that like I always genuinely think about this topic because it's interesting to see that like kids always are down to fail, right? And they always get back up. I remember myself as a kid, I used to drive a bike when I was a very small, boy. And like when the first time I got my bike, I instantly fall off. And I had a very serious knee injury. Like my mom and my grandfather had to like cut out a lot of like these... how is it called in English? Like these...
ligaments?
like these field,
Scar tissue.
I don't know. So I fell off from the bike, and like I had these injuries, and it was all bloody and messy, and like they had to I don't know,
Surgery.
Like make a surgery for me. Yeah, basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry for that. And like I remember
fine.
The moment they done it, I like ran out with my friends again, and I was riding the bike. The next minute I like had this surgery, and my mom was like all worried for me, and my grandfather and my grandmother was. And I always remember this time to remind myself is that like how crazy it is that for adults we are the same kids in adult, like, you know, uniform, let's say, but we change with this fear, right? With what we didn't have as a kid. So it's so interesting for me to see this, and I feel very few people can like hold up to their inner child in a sense perfectly, in a sense that like they don't have these very like, you know, controlling emotions, let's say. So because these are controlling emotions, right? Sometimes, like you said, they control you in a very good way. There are like examples in the news. I read a lot of like news about like how some people were lucky because of their decision of fear. Like, for example, they didn't draw the ferry, or they didn't draw like the big wheel in some countries, you know, and there was like an accident immediately happening, and like they would have a feeling, right? A fear of feeling like that there will be something bad happening, and it happened, right? So fear can help in these situations, and we cannot describe as human beings to a certain extent why this is happening to us. Like someone would telling us, or someone is controlling us. It's a hard topic, but like fear is there for some good reasons too, in my opinion.
That's the thing, is human emotions, I think, are warranted. You know, we were born with them for a reason. They're all good for a purpose. And that's what I think art is beautiful, is we're trying to recreate these emotions for that purpose. You know, we're trying to share them in safe ways. If we make a cool horror movie, hey, you get to be scared, but you don't actually get to be in that situation. You do not have to run for your life. Same thing with a video game. You can sit down and have a fun experience as Mario, but you don't have to have the calisthenics to jump over pits or turtles, you know? So video games and all forms of art are just a way to experience human emotions safely. Like, you're not going to have like this cavalcade of reality busting in, and you don't know.
Or to connect if someone had the same experience, right? If, for example, life experience.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's what I find so fascinating about games as art, is that I think through video games, we're learning that there's a range of human emotion far beyond what we just kind of have defined. You know, happiness, there's like 40 different types of happiness. If I'm just saying, oh, I'm happy, well, what kind of happy am I? Am I the kind of happy because I just had 10 cheeseburgers? That's a kind of happy. Or am I the kind of happy just because I gave my wife a hug? That's another kind of happy, you know? So, like, it's fascinating, because I think that as we get better as artists, we're getting better at finding our voices as people. We literally are finding connections with each other in ways that we never found before. You know, there's some really great games that I think have created bridges between not just countries, but people in ways that I'm like, I don't think any other art form ever could. Like Papers, Please. Like, wow, blew my mind in terms of like just experiencing that game. I had no idea what that experience would feel like until I felt it in that game, and thankfully I was safe. But it made me have so much sympathy for anyone in the world that has to deal with that type of crap. And it's the same with any form of art, is that if you can make it good and pure and interesting and entertaining, that you have someone that wants to experience it in a fun way that makes it so, hey, they can experience that safe. And maybe if you do a really good job, they can then take that and make the world a little bit better. They can take what they learned from your art and then put it into the world. So if you can make someone happy, then, oh, cool, I walked away from this game and I feel better now. I'm going to go hang out with my friends and to make them happy. It's basically, for as much as the world you're talking about kind of craps on you and tries to keep you down, art is the opposite. It gets people excited and happy and feeling connected, even if that art is negative and like, you know, bad emotions, processing loss, grief, suicide, all of that. It's better to do it together than it is to do it alone. Art does that. Art is the solution. Art is the way we can all deal with those feelings together. And I think that, like, you know, it's worth pursuing no matter who you are. You have a unique perspective. You might have the 48th flavor of happiness. We won't know until you make art telling us what that is, you know? So hopefully
and it's interesting that you brought up, and I appreciated that you brought up the topic of like the connection and perfect connection between the creator and the consumer. of art, because like I remember myself like having this argument with my literature teacher in high school, that like she told us that those people who read poems, it was like a class when we like analyzed one of the most famous poems in Hungary, like or Hungarian language. She told us that like she believes that readers of the poem will never understand the same exact feeling what the creator has. And I remember I raised my arm and I said, I don't agree with this. And I said, like, there will be like perfect occasions where like the human being on an emotional level will be connected with the creator, and he or she will understand the same situation because they not just have been through that situation, but like they had the same resonating effect of that emotion.
Literally felt the same thing.
Yeah, I remember having this very long conversation with her because, and I have seen a lot of examples of this, in not just via video games, but like books, movies, and everything. When I talk to people who like also seen those movies or play those games, because like there is always a rare occasion where like some human beings, again on an emotional level, had the same experience. And also to add, to certain extent they might not even to have to like be in that position, in my opinion. Like for example, yes, experiencing loss adds up to like to this connection, to this perfect connection, but there are rare occasions where like someone never experienced loss in their life, but they feel how it feels. And it's very interesting in my opinion, because like to a lot of people it's like insane, and a lot of people it's not happening, but it can happen. It's just, I feel like it is really about how sensitive and how much sensitive knowledge, if that's the correct word. I hope that it's
it makes sense to me. Yeah, like in terms of
in Hungarian language we have this sensitive knowledge where like it's you feel what others feel, basically.
Yes. Yeah.
So I feel like that's the beauty of this connection that you mentioned. That's why I appreciate that you brought up.
Yeah, no, of course. My pleasure. I mean, and I think that's why it's worth making art.
True.
It's literally the best way to the only way we're going to keep going is if we all work together.
True, and it helps the creator as well, because he or she doesn't feel alone, because
yes, exactly,
he or she will feel that there are people around.
And there always is. I do truly believe that none of us are alone. There's people out there that they're our family, they're our friends, that we just haven't found them yet. So go out there, make cool stuff, show it to people until you find them.
True.
Connection. Yeah.
True. Very true. My next personal question would be: I believe in this statement, like of creators always put themselves into the craft we make, even if it's like we talked about loss or experiencing love on a different level. Is this statement true for your life as a game developer or as a creator? When you make games or make, like you said, also movies, direct movies, or any 100%. Creative part in your life, let's say. So
it's
sorry to add, and if yes, what examples could you add on an emotional level or on a human level definitely. That you added into your craft? Because it's always interesting for me to learn about this.
I'll get a little personal because it's interesting. Because normally I just like writing, period. And the best advice I ever got was to write what you know. And I hated that advice. I really hated it, because I'm from Arizona, and all that's out here is cactuses and desert. And I'm like, oh, that's all I know. I don't want to write about cactuses and desert. I want to write about fantasy. I want to write about the opposite of cactuses and desert. So for the longest time, I didn't like that. But then I grew up and I lived a crazy life, and I understood what that meant. And it didn't mean your location. It didn't mean your environment. It meant write what you've experienced, write the world as you see it. True. And that will give you a voice. So when it came to Ink Inside, I actually wrote the original script 2014, I want to say. And that was just a pilot episode. So it was like a 30-minute script. And then I originally wrote it just as an idea I had. It's like, doodles come to life. I didn't have like a bigger format for the story. And then eventually I pitched it, and the pitch went very well, actually, Nickelodeon. I was very confident we were going to have the show get made. And then they were like, oh, we just want Loud House. So we're just making more Loud House now. Bye. And that was it. The last I heard of them. So I ended up basically getting this thing independently produced because of some clients of mine and also my own production company. But I was going to do it with my voice. Like I said, write what you know. So I took the original pilot I had and I updated it with some pretty cool stuff. The main story is about this little girl. She's 10. She's growing up, and throughout her life, through being a child, through being a teenager, through being a young adult in college, she would draw with her dad, and these drawings would come to life, and that's who you play as. You play as this little girl's drawings. But those drawings are in a box in her closet beneath a slowly leaking ceiling. So the drawings are getting corrupted, and all of her memories from being a kid are also getting warped. So the funny thing is the story is about these doodles and the memories that she has that led to them getting created. What inspired her to draw these characters, right? And the narrative of the game is literally the quest for that. You're trying to figure out, what was the reason that Hannah drew me? And I explore the idea of what it means to be born one way, drawn one way, and then become something else, like who you are, who as a person, versus who you were made to be. And that, I think, is something that is the classic coming-of-age story. We don't want to necessarily be our parents. We want to be ourselves. And the best way you can discover that is through art, in my opinion. You're practicing it. But I think art, more than anything, in terms of what it can serve as, is basically self-reflection and therapy. We were talking about getting out those feelings. That's really what Ink Inside is about and why I wrote it. I think art is really about getting your feelings out there. True. And literally the plot of Ink Inside is about this little girl getting her feelings out there. And then you get to see as she grows up how those feelings change. And so I get to compare like what it's like to be a kid and feel certain things, and then what it's like to be an adult and feel the same things, but different. So it's fun because I get to write a very adult story, but no one notices because it has cartoons and fart jokes in it. So like the end of the story is literally like, I was talking about philosophy. There's this famous story called. Are you familiar with Nietzsche? He wrote "Thus Spoke Zarathustra." He came down from this mountain and he's like, "Oh, God is dead. Why are we all worshiping God?" I'm religious, so I'm just talking about this book as it is. But that being said, Zarathustra came down and he's like, "God's no more!" And it's like a big deal. And then movies, after reading that book, were like, "Oh, we need to have our hero scream into the sky whenever something bad happens." Like Wolverine 2010, like his wife dies and he screams into the sky, "No!" Like that's screaming at God not being there. That's literally this trope from philosophy from a million years ago. I took that trope.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Oh, it's my perspective of it, but it's simply.
I didn't know that. Yeah, that's cool. That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh, I could go on for hours.
I know you could.
You've heard me for a
that's
literal
passion.
Okay.
That's passion.
Yeah,
again,
yeah.
It is.
So this is my way of saying I took that concept and actually put it in the game. But you'll never notice because it's literally just Stick screaming and outside the box, "Hey Hannah, where are you?" And the other characters join in, "Hey Hannah, oh haha, she's not here." And it's like no one's gonna ever compare that to like dark Nietzsche philosophy, but that's where it came from. So when it comes from like what inspired you, I borrow from what I like, but I also know how to dress it up in a way that I think makes me happy. It doesn't have to look and feel the way it looked and felt for me, which is pretty dark and horrible, but I can basically use art as, hey, art is therapeutic, and look how much happy it can make things. Don't pay attention to the nightmares we have in this game. Just pay attention to how you can clean those nightmares up. And you can use art to do that. So I think in terms of the story, there's a lot of my own personal life in there. I think art is therapeutic. I had a pretty tough time in college. I lost a family member, and art was my. It's okay. It's a very long story that I'm still kind of recovering from. I won't get into the details, but a long story short is that inspired me to go to film school, and that inspired me to go into game development. And this whole entire game is about my sister that I lost. So in a way, it's about coping with that loss. And this isn't spoilers. I'm not like, "Oh, Hannah's dead. Oh, her dad's dead." No, I'm just saying like when it comes to like, yeah, no spoilers here. I'm just saying when it comes to someone being there and not, how do you process that? How do you process those memories when you have these really great ones with them, but they're not there anymore? What do you do with all these great memories with someone
that you have? That it will happen to any of you.
Exactly. So a big part of the game is literally just using art to deal with these feelings and process them in a healthy way. And you actually get to see what those drawings are. Sometimes they're messed up, sometimes they're normal, sometimes they're like really scary, but then they actually aren't, they're okay. And this is, in a weird way, ties into the conversation we had about intent. It's like, hey, these drawings might look scary, but the intent behind them isn't. It's just trying to process a bad feeling. Or this horrible looking thing over here is actually bad because the intent was, I'm trying to get this bad emotion out. So it's kind of cool because Ink Inside, in a way, is an exploration of art and how it can serve that
And
purpose.
also your memories
And-
and feelings, yeah.
Exactly, and how to process them through art
Yeah.
to a certain degree. So yeah, but again, no spoilers. No one dies in the game. I promise. Anyway,
That we
Danny,
know of yet. Just kidding.
Yeah, that we know of yet. Ooh, spoilers for.
Thank you, by
future,
the way,
fingers
for your
crossed.
honesty. I appreciate that again. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
no, my pleasure, man. I am still dealing with some stuff, but I want to be honest because it's a great question to ask for sure.
Thank you so much for that. What about
Yeah.
you?
Guess the Treacher's Radiant or me?
Yeah, Radiant.
You're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
Right,
we
yeah,
can
yeah,
we
so
can we can follow
trajectories.
the same order. Yeah,
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah,
Or if you
Alright,
want
sure.
to.
Yeah, so I feel like to an extent there is part of us, a piece of us in everything that we do. How much of that and how literal that is can vary. I feel like all art captures some form of life. It doesn't necessarily have to be the human condition. Sometimes it can be about the world around us. It can be about nature. It can be about land. But everything that exists in art is influenced by what exists in the world. And one of the things that I've seen some of the greats say that were, making cartoons before cartoons were inspired by cartoons is that they were inspired by the world and inspired by life around them. And that yes, you can be inspired by other video games or be inspired by other, anime.
But it won't be that
or
honest, right?
cartoons, but you also want to be inspired by the world
Sure,
and the
sure.
people
Agree,
around
agree,
you.
yeah.
And there might be a time where, you're just walking home from work or getting off the bus and you see a person that you think is interesting and you think, oh, you know what? I'm going to give that hat to one of my characters. And then suddenly that becomes a core part of one of these
True,
characters.
true, very true.
So, I think just keeping our eyes open and looking at the world around us and thinking about, the world and our experiences and the experiences of other people and how we perceive other people, that is what can make art truly great.
I agree. Can you name some of your examples, by the way, if you're down to that, or you don't want to? If you have any examples.
Yeah, so, I mean, let's see, what isn't NDA?
You don't have to name from this
NDA.
game. You can name from any creative process, like I said.
Okay,
So,
sure. So, there was actually a fun game jam that I did earlier this year. It's out. It's called Coaster Kisser.
Okay.
It is about a short puzzle, but also dating sim game where you play as a personified version of a real roller coaster. Like we made a person that's out by a real roller coaster.
Okay.
And you talk to other people that are all inspired by these real roller coasters. And you help design a new roller coaster for the theme park. And that whole idea for the game, originally all we had for an idea was, what's something that we could work together on that is just a fun game jam during the voice actors strike? So that was caused by a real world event that we wanted to do something together. And then I went to a theme park in the UK with my partner on a double date with my best friend and his partner. And it just inspired me in a way. And when I came back, I was like, I went to the group chat that I had with these voice actor friends of mine, and I was like, I think I know what I want to do for the game. Here's the idea. What do y'all think? And everybody was so in on it. So it was like this real world experience that I had that was so far removed from anything video game related. But I brought that back to the team, and suddenly we had an idea for a game, and we made a game in a month. It was great.
Crazy. Thank you for your honesty too. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. What about you?
Yeah. All right. Well, mine. I don't know which direction I want to take this, but I'll take it in the one that makes the most sense. The question is how. Ask your question again, so make sure that I got it correct.
So I believe
It's been
in
a
this
while now.
statement that creators do put themselves into the craft they make,
Got it,
even
yeah,
if experiencing loss or love, and dance. And if your answer is yes, if it's true for your life, what personal and emotional examples could you
Yeah.
name from your work, not just tied up to this game, but for other projects?
No, of course. No, I think whatever you're creating, it's more valuable to say something. You have to be saying something with what you do. I believe that. I mean, it's important, not just for yourself, for people around you to understand you and your story, and people can relate to that, right? People crave connection. So when you put some piece of yourself in what you do, I think it's more valuable, not just to you, but to others, right? It increases what this can mean.
True.
I mean, that's a beautiful part about video games, right? Like, everyone can inject themselves into something and may not resonate with everybody, but the two people that it resonates with, that's going to mean the difference between something or nothing, right? And I think it's valuable. And I think I do that a lot in everything that I do. My entire purpose for making games, doing YouTube, and I do video game live streams every week, but I also do real life ghost hunting stuff. And I do that because I had a traumatic experience, many actually traumatic experiences as a child, things that nobody could understand. It is what it is, but it's maybe who I am, and I think that's the beauty. I'm finding the beauty in what can be perceived as negative, right?
I agree.
Yeah, and it's those things that created me, the individual, and what better way to do something with that than put it in stuff that I put out into the world, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that's valuable and important for everybody, that no matter what you are doing, say something with it. And I think that's the missing piece, the missing link, if you will, with art as a medium. Say something with it. And if it has to be something from yourself, your own soul, put it in there. So, yeah. And I do that a lot with everything that I do. I mean, the ghost hunting stuff and telling a narrative that might seem fantastical to some people, but it's true.
It's super
either
cool,
whether
though.
It's true to me or true to other people, it's true.
I think you're just ahead of... Sorry, go ahead. I'm just a fan.
Say it.
I'm just a fan, Danny. I'm sorry. Go ahead. You're talking. I'll shut up.
No, you're good. Yeah, and I think that's the value in art, right? It's finding what you can say and how people can connect with you. And I do that in all the games that I do. I have a trope in my career. I call it the Danny treatment, and I say it as a joke, and it becomes a thing because I go in and I fix games. I've been doing that for many years after Inc. now, but I mean, that's what I do. I come in later in projects and I finish them. That's what I've been doing, right? And I'm working on Judas now. If you know the big Ken Levine game, Judas. That's what I'm working on. I'm the cinematic technical designer, and I'm coming in and I'm finishing the game. And it's a beautiful thing because I get to see what it is, and I get to make it better by putting my Danny touch. And I love saying that because I'm very proud of it. It's just like things want to blend better. Maybe this part is kind of like wonky. Maybe it just has to feel smooth. That to feel cohesive, and that's what I love. That's how I inject myself into my art. Yeah.
Oh, I love it because you look at the whole piece and you see how to make it better. And
Exactly.
while you can definitely call that the Danny touch, you just know how to actually make it perform. You know how to make it look good. And that is the art. That is literally the art you bring as the director. Is you're like, it needs to look this way. I am the one that has the perspective, and you're going to make it happen. And you do.
Of course.
And dude, I'm a big fan of your ghost hunting show just because I think it's ahead of the curve. I think you're here early.
It.
Oh yeah, it's he has
a long way to go still, but I appreciate it though.
I helped produce a few episodes of his ghost hunting show. It's very, very well done. Like it's on YouTube.
A trilogy of episodes that were wild in Montana. Oof.
Yeah, good stuff. Anyway, the point is just art is definitely funnest when it's collaborative, but it's best when that collaboration is about making the art better versus just like, being a part of it. Like a lot of times in bigger studios, it's like, oh, well, I'm getting my paycheck. And it's like, that's cool. Can you do your job? Like, I'd rather do that, Like, sorry, I'm sure you know a few people like that, Danny, no offense.
Yeah, don't get lost in the cog, be the one that says something. And if you have to stand up and above other people, do it.
True, and I agree with you. And thank you that you brought up, Danny, this topic up, because 100%. I feel like I always say this to my viewers and to my community as well, that if you know your worth and you know that you're talented in something, you have to be brave about it and stand up, like you said, because that's how you also like develop yourself as a person. So it's very important. About the ghost hunting stuff, by the way, so you mentioned that you believe in this spiritual world, if I assume so, right? Am I right about it?
Yeah.
Okay. So me too. And what do you think? Why people, a lot of people, like do not want to open up their brain about thinking about these topics?
I have the answer to that. Okay. And this,
I'm interested to your perspective. That's why I'm asking you.
No, of course. Yeah. No, I think I found the answer after many years of searching. Okay. I mean, my traumatic experiences, I'll never talk about publicly or openly. Maybe one day I will, because they were so traumatic that they shaped a large part of my life, and Anyways, what I'm saying there, and the reason I bring that up is because I grew up my entire life having and holding that experience that nobody understood me. Literally zero people could understand what I went through. Really, no one did. No one could, right? I remember like having so many moments where I would just cry because I was seeing things that weren't there. Not that I was insane, not that I had any clinical issue, none of those things. And it's not that I believe in this stuff, is that I know that it is a fact and it exists. Now, with that, some people cannot experience these things. Some people are closer to the veil, if you will, right? If we want to get philosophical with that. But I know that I am, and I've always been. I've seen, experienced, heard, and felt, and have been attacked many years of my life, right? So the answer there is not that some people don't believe, is they're unable to experience these things. And I found that to be true for a lot of people. I've dealt with a lot of people. I used to work for a nationwide ghost company. I won't say the name because controversy, but I used to work for a nationwide ghost company. I would do tours of hundreds, plural, of people a night. And I would lead these investigations, and people would look at me like I'm crazy. It's like, well, that's just what you're going to get, dude. Because, like, this is my perspective, and you're here just to enjoy. So let me either, A, enjoy it as entertainment, or B, join the narrative, join the journey, inject yourself into the story, right? So, anyways.
Well,
Yeah,
what I think is funny is...
Oh, no, go for it, go for it.
Oh no, I just think it's funny that like that perspective I think is valid just as much as anyone else's. There's actually a ton of science behind how much variance we have.
True.
I'm not gonna. Yeah, like honestly,
you're
there's
right,
like one fifth out of every person has something like 1,200% more cones in their eyes than anyone else. So it's like they can see hypercolor, and we can't do that. There's people that have super smellers; they can like literally smell cancer and Alzheimer's on people. So to me,
super
like,
sensitive people who can like feel the future or like predict the future in some way, or
100%. Oh yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that. They actually did a huge study in the late, I think it was 2012. It was one of the biggest, most broadest scientific studies they did on the effects of ESP. Like, are humans slightly perceptible? And the results were yes. Like literally, the paper was like, yes, people have slight ESP. You can work on it. And this like literally cut the science community in half. Half of the science community was like, we need better testing because this is bullshit, because they just didn't want to accept it. And the other half was like, no, we need to retest it more than ever because sounds viable. It sounds like we need to pursue it. And now 10 years later, it's still, you have this complete cut down the line between actual hardcore scientists being like, there is actual data here suggesting slight like ESP like ability that some people have.
Yeah.
And then there's other scientists being like, no, our testing is all wrong. Those are just false positives. So it's really almost impossible to know what the truth is from an outside observer. Like, I don't have what Danny has, but I'm not going to sit here and say he doesn't. All I know is that there's a wide variance.
You wish you had, right?
It exists. I do. Yes, I really do. I mean,
yes,
in a way, I would
think
be grateful.
like, a lot of us think like that. Why do you think, by the way, Danny, why do you think, sorry to interrupt you, why do you think like kids lose this ability of theirs? Because I
don't think kids lose their abilities. I think it's passed on genetically. I had this as a kid. I never lost this ability. I retained it. I won't get into personal stuff, but my son also has been exhibiting some, stuff, and he's saying I'm scared and potentially seeing things.
Yeah, but remember I told you this example of my ex-girlfriend's son when he like seen his grandfather.
Things.
Yeah. But
just when
he grew up, he just like I feel like to my view, I feel like on a human level we are getting boxed in with our brain, right? And it's like a shield for us to protect our own like sanity, as we will.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah,
that happens to a lot of people.
Blocks in the brain. That's a big thing.
Yeah. So it's basically our brain is a shield, and it deflects all this, thinking. Because
another way, many factors. Right?
Yeah. And I remember there was a Chinese guy from Microsoft who went to our university, and he told us that like he's working for. It was a very interesting like lecture from him. Like he was with a lot of bodyguards. That was very super scary. And he went in and they closed all the 4 doors of the class. We were like 300 people there sitting, and he was like, okay, please, Matt, silence. Listen to me now. And it's like it really resonated me like with the Final Fantasy X. Tidus saying like, listen to my story, and we listened. And the scary part of his story was like, he told us that like if society and even us in that room would knew a small percentage of that knowledge that, for example, Google has about how human brain works, how humans work, we would be probably going insane. And it was very scary. That was super scary to hear about. And also interesting in my opinion, because like in my opinion, like I started one of the topics when we talked about with you guys, is that like in my opinion that should be our first goal as human beings, to get to know about these surroundings, right, about in our life. That would help us evolve as human beings. But I feel like a lot of us are just stuck in one place, and we say that, oh, the new iPhone is out, it's evolvement, right? But it's not. Like,
it's not,
come on, like the new 3D, I don't know, monitor is out, the new graphics card are out. It's not evolving. Like, it's just. It's not real. It's not real evolvement, in my opinion. Like, it's just our surroundings, but not in a way that we should consume our whole world.
Oh yeah, I think that we end up as humans. I think we get frustrated when our environment changes and we don't, because we want to change. We always want to change.
And our society also teaches us to like just stuck in this box. That's the whole philosophy of that duck in the pool that I mentioned. That like we always want to go into the bigger like pool, but what we end up realizing is that if we get to the biggest pool, we are also in the smallest pool, right? Because the small pool is inside the biggest pool. So basically, we were always there in the biggest pool too.
Then that's what I couldn't agree more with. Actually, it's a matter of perspective. It's where we want to go versus where we are. It's about learning how to use our environment to our own benefit versus to our own, I guess you could say, comfort. A lot of times when we're in an environment, we want to make ourselves comfortable and not hurt, right? We want to just get comfortable there.
Sure.
But a lot of times we end up making ourselves comfortable in a bad situation, a bad relationship, a bad job, a bad who knows what. And we basically will stay there because the amount of effort we have to do to get out of it requires pain, it requires suffering, it requires a lot of uncomfortable crap. And then we end up trapping ourselves in bad environments and bad places simply because we don't want to feel the pain that it takes to get ourselves out. So that's why I'm all about fortitude. It's like you get used to pain, nothing can stop you. That's basically what it boils down to. And you just have to get really good to specific types of pain. Like
and because all of those painful situations, I feel like on an emotional level, we as humans always lose a lot of like emotions or their realness of those emotions. I feel like that's what I see from a lot of like adults, even like younger or older than me, that they just lose being emotional. And it's also a cultural thing, because I feel like, for example, like I don't want to go into like very like strict like cultural like combinations or like differences, but I feel like it's very funny when, for example, I don't know, let's say, for example, Japanese, in my opinion, are thought to be very emotional human beings, to understand each other, right? But there are countries, for example, that I thought that you have to be this very strict person without emotions, right? And I feel like the real like balance should be in the middle somewhere. Like, you have to be professional on like some levels, but also like be emotional. And like, for example, don't be ashamed to cry. Like I said, for example, I can cry as a male person on every movie, and I had a lot of people who were like, making fun of me just because I cried. That, oh, you are not a male person, you shouldn't be crying. Like, well, you shouldn't do that. Like, what?
No,
like, why? Like, who is telling me that, right? Okay. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Like, and there are a lot of people like that, and it's sad because like you make me feel bad for what you are.
Yeah, that's
what's happening to the video game industry as well, as I mentioned to this whole extent before our interview, is that like it's crazy to me that we live in a world now that even if we don't want to be up there for the people's opinion, we have to, because we cannot avoid. We can, of course, go under the cave and live there and do nothing and don't know about no one, but it's scary, right? And it will make us feel alone, and it won't be easy for anyone to do that. So
not even close.
It's
funny. I talk.
No, go for that.
Go ahead.
No, go for that.
Okay, I'll make it quick because I know we probably have to wrap up soon. I know Radiant might have to leave here.
It's up to you. I have time.
Oh, okay. So I'll just be real quick. I think it's interesting because in economics, there's this concept called diminishing marginal returns. And it basically boils down to the next thing you get is always going to be less satisfying than the first time you got it. So like the first time you eat vanilla ice cream, it's going to be the greatest time you've ever had vanilla ice cream.
True.
Maybe the second time, but at some point you're going to reach the peak. And every time after that, it's going to diminish, right? And I think that part of growing up is just we've experienced life over and over again. We've experienced vanilla ice cream. We've experienced changing a car tire. We've experienced mortgages. We know where the pain lies, and we know where the good lies. And then the problem is both of those things start feeling less impactful the more you experience them. Vanilla ice cream doesn't taste as good once you've had it 400 times. Paying your mortgage doesn't feel as secure after you've done it 1,000 times, nor is it as exciting. Like the whole point is that the more we have experienced in life, the less impact it has on us emotionally as humans. So the secret is to learn how to re-experience the same shit. That's it. You know, if you want that vanilla ice
or
cream,
to find small pieces which are different and we still like it, or are new to us. Yeah, 100%.
Take that vanilla ice cream, dip it in chocolate. Have you ever done that? No, cool. That's a new experience. Take that vanilla ice cream, throw Fruity Pebbles on it. You know, there's like a million ways you can experience the same thing, just slightly different. And now it's a new feeling. You get to have that high of vanilla ice cream all over again. It's just a little bit different. And so to me, it's a matter of managing diminishing returns, and it's a matter of like knowing how to kind of course correct around them. And that it's an impossible thing. It's like I'm saying this, it's easy. It's not. It's very hard. But when it comes to life, the harder you try at something, the easier it gets, you know? But also, the opposite is true, is the more you enjoy of something, the less enjoyment you get out of it. So I know a lot of people that play video games, they want to change gears, try some new stuff, find indie games.
Because they feel that they will burn out. But it's very interesting that, like, I remember there was a university lecture from Lupe Fiasco. He said that some of their, like, listeners went into this lecture, and he said that they asked him that, were you ever burnt out from the music industry, the music game? And he said never, because like I feel like what I learned through my life is that if you're passionate about enough about something, you will never burnt out. That's false reality for him. He will never burn out because he has always passion to do. He's always down on the road to write music every day because that's what he's capable of. He doesn't want to end up doing anything else, and he cannot be burnt out. And I feel like it's very true because like if you want to do something, like you said, Danny, as well, like there is no other option for you, right? You will do it, and
damn skipping.
That's it.
Yeah. No fear, Danny. Just driving 2 states over. That's freaking incredible. Especially considering where you started working. I won't spoil anything, but dude, you worked your way up.
Thank you. No, it's been a journey. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, you and Sid, almost everyone worked there at some point.
Oh yeah, I think we all did actually.
Yeah, I think everyone did. Yeah, I think Brandon did too. There's you cool if I mention it? Not to
talk about it. Let's do it. Why not?
I don't want to give this company any free press, but there's a very big mill that just makes 3D models and rigs and stuff for other people to buy and use in games.
Okay.
And it's called Daz 3D. Is that correct? Yeah, there's a lot of controversy behind them for a lot of reasons. And a lot of those reasons are why Danny, Sydney, and Brandon left in order to work for me and other places. So, like, yeah, it's just kind of crazy to think Danny being like, I'm going to make games. And the first year was just like, this is not video games. Like, no. Here you are now, man. Well, here you are now. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
crazy.
It's valuable, though, I think,
it is,
to know what you could be doing, to get where you need to go to.
Sure.
I think everyone needs to suffer and pay their dues.
And that's why I said that you have to take these brave steps in order to know your worth. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I was an editor for 2.5 years. If you know the Harlem Globetrotters, the basketball team in the U.S. They're not a real team. They do trick shots because it's fun. I used to edit every single commercial throughout the entire United States for them, which is 2,000 plus commercials. Okay. And I had to hear their theme song, it's called Sweet Georgia Brown, literally 2,000 plus times. So like now, whenever I hear it, I have like PTSD flashbacks. I'm like, are the Globetrotters here? So, but I had to break out of that to like. Yeah, exactly.
I think we had that conversation once, Richard, because I brought up the fact that I worked in an electronics area for 4 years, and now whenever I hear the Star Wars theme, it's like, oh no, because I was like, I was only like 10 feet away from this thing that played it. I would like hear it when I closed my eyes at night.
You're like, you close your eyes.
You could do a mascot horror about those stories, right?
Yes. Yeah.
With music, not the puppet, with music. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So like Danny said, paying your dues, but it's you got it. You have to know how bad it is before you know how to make it better.
True,
you know? And I'm like, I don't want to do this editing anymore. So sayonara.
And just to put a cap on that, like you got to know where you were to know where you're going. You know what I mean? It's just valuable to know. because you
Like
won't
you were saying, know
value
your
it.
worth.
I got the job I have now.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. If I didn't have the job, if I got the job now, like it's my first job, I wouldn't value it, and I wouldn't have all the life and skills and so on and so forth to be where I'm at today.
Also the experience.
You need to have all of that.
But I think that's the hard part for a lot of people, that like they don't stop, right? They don't stop to think about this thing. They just experience it, and they don't like think about it constantly, that why it happened and what it happened. I remember when I got fired from a job when COVID hit, I was very mad that I got fired. But then I realized that I was very lucky because of that situation. I didn't get COVID for a lot of years.
That's great.
Because it was in a hospital, and I was an IT, like, guy in a hospital. And I remember, like, my mom told me that, hey, think of this perspective. You didn't get COVID for a lot of years just because you didn't work there and you started working from home. And I was like,
that is a very excellent perspective.
Yeah, so it's like you have to find those perspectives to shine bright light for your life. Yeah.
That might be my personal philosophy, actually. I'm like, literally, I could not agree more on that. Like, no matter what, like, there's this saying that like life gives you lemons, so make lemonade, and I do agree with that. But there's certain situations it's impossible, right? You can't make lemonade out of all the lemons life gives you. So what I usually tell people is like, just learn to like lemons. Then when life gives you them, you're just like, oh, great, lemons. Nom nom. What next, life?
True.
So, yeah. Thanks. Yeah, it's dumb, but it ties into. Yeah, go please do. It just ties into what you were saying, so that's all. But I not to end it too early, but I do want to go, and I think we're on a pretty good high note, and it's been so far excellent talking to you. Oh my god,
thank you, I appreciate it.
Fun show.
Thank you,
sincerely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Please keep doing what you're doing. These are the kinds of interviews like I want to see more of when it comes to game developers. Let's get into why they made this art. Not just like, 5 out of 5, sure. No, like let's figure out what the process was. True. That's so much more interesting. So, dude, thank you.
Thank you. Do you have, by the way, time for some closing questions? Are you down to some closing questions?
I'm okay with that, yeah.
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. So the next personal question would be, how have you changed as a person in other territories of your own life by being a game developer for so many years? If there were, of course, any changes, but I believe so that there were, of course, changes.
I think. Yeah.
I got one, and I was just to tie off with Danny. Actually, with both of you, a lot of people think I'm crazy now. A lot of people just think I'm an insane person.
I like you.
So, yeah, I know. That's why probably people think I'm insane. I mean that lovingly.
We talked about this topic, right?
I know.
Yeah.
I know.
It's just interesting because game developers are seen as there's two sides of the coin. You either have the person that's like, okay, I'm doing it and we're great, or you have the people that are already in the industry and they're doing fine. But the people that are like the more indies, they get like a bad rap. A lot of people are like, oh, I'm making indie games. And they're like, oh, are you though? And it's like hard to really champion that. So thankfully, because I've had a really supportive family, because I've had everyone else, I think that ultimately at the end of the day, I've just been kind of the only thing that's changed is how open I am about how I make art and why and what inspires me. I got very closed in terms of how much I talk, believe it or not. For a while, my previous job, I had to talk softly and carry a big stick, and that's despite me talking a lot and talking very loudly. So the biggest thing that I think game development did for me is kind of just break me out of my shell a bit more.
I see.
I'm probably more comfortable.
I appreciate it because you're here now with us, so that shows.
Yeah, oh yeah, and it's weird because like I had a beard, like a full beard, for like 12 years. And I just shaved it off this year, and I thought I wouldn't get used to it. And now I see pictures of myself with a beard. I'm like, that's not even me anymore. So to answer your question, like I've just changed in a way, and that I'm feeling more comfortable being who I want to be versus the person who I feel like my job wanted me to be. So thankfully, this project let me kind of cast off those shackles in some fun ways. So I'm very grateful because one of the things you do when you work on art is it's very introspective. And I think that a lot of us want to do art because we want to learn ourselves more than anything else. And that's kind of the only way you can do it. The best way to jump inside and figure out who you are is to really just kind of bring what's in there out. And art's the best way to do that. And for better or worse, you're going to learn some stuff. And sometimes it's for the worse, but man, when it's for the better,
true. And
you become a new person, then you become better, then you shave your beard and you get to be on a cool interview like this.
I will do that too, I promise you, right? Next time we talk, I will shave it.
No, don't.
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
Fair enough. But long story short, I think that the biggest thing is that becoming a game developer just made me feel comfortable being me. And I think that's true to a degree for a lot of people. Oh yeah, no, for sure.
I appreciate that.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I would say very similar. When I was working at an electronics store, everybody had to wear like a button-up shirt and khakis every day, and like that's so not me. Like I'm the type of guy that likes a beanie, I like a cool jacket, I like a tight t-shirt. Like that's the kind of guy I am, and I feel like in games you get to dress like that, and it doesn't take away from your professionalism. You get to be yourself, and you just get to be like, I don't know, like you at work, rather than putting on this facade or this big uniform or
you don't have to hide in some kind of corporate persona. You can just be you.
Right, exactly. Yep. So
oh yeah,
for sure.
And I got in a lot of trouble not wearing that corporate persona at a couple bigger companies like Sony, which is why I don't work there anymore. Sorry, Danny.
I guess jumping off of that, I used to work very much corpo jobs, retail, restaurant, and so forth. And I think what's most been valuable for me, I've always been a very much against the grain person. I've always known it. I don't like people putting me in a box. I'm Danny. I know who I am. I know what I'm worth. Right. And I think game development is. Hell yeah, right? I know that game development in general has allowed me to have that free expression. It is art at the end of the day, right? But it's also like what you can bring to the table, what you can bring to this game, what you can do, but do well, but also be able to speak on it really well. And it's a combination of all my soft skills that I developed over the years that I didn't have. I mean, theater got me out of my shell, made me try to be more outgoing, gave me a Danny, if you will, right? Gave me me. And I love that so much, that every little piece of everything that I've ever done. Sorry, yeah.
I'm sorry. I didn't. Oh no, you're on a roll. Go.
Okay, yeah. No, every little piece
of everything you've done. Yes.
Yeah. Has created me into something. And I think game development just goes a culmination of everything. And I think before game development, I was just this person trying to seek, validation, acceptance, and just trying to be somebody. And I always say this every week when I stream. I give advice in every stream: is you're somebody today. That's something I had to really fight with. You are somebody now and today, and the person you are now and today is what's going to shape the person you'll be tomorrow and so forth, right? And a hard time wrestling with that because I didn't know who I was. I was floundering for many years, right? But ever since I started doing things that I find passion and love and joy in, it has created this new me. And it's just like, I can go out and tell people I worked on this game and I'm so proud of it. It's what I did. Passion. But then they can also see the game and they could say whatever they want about it, and it will never hurt. Because I know what it took to go through that journey to make that, and all the people that I work with, we're all bonded together by that experience of making something. And I think that's the beauty of having that shared experience, is working in studios, working with developers, because that's something that we share, and we could certainly share it as much as we can. But like,
you're protecting each other on an emotional level, like
of course, we had to be there, and that's why I'm still talking with Rich. How many years has it been, Rich? Have we been talking at this point?
Like
too many.
Way more than way more. But
5 years almost now, right?
It's very close to it. Yes, dude. Yeah,
I think it is. But I still talk to Rich. We don't even work together really no more. But I like him so much, and it's just like that bonded experience. And I care so much about the game that we worked on, and I'm still showing up, right? And I think that's so unique to game development. That's the beauty of it. So I
agree wholeheartedly. I think just to little top it off, when it comes to game dev, especially working creatively with a group, as I mentioned before, the secret is learning how everyone's perspective works towards making that thing better. Everyone's eyes is a little bit different, and they see something a little bit different with that project and how to make it better. The best thing you can do as a director is listen. That's it. I'm just like, here, what do you guys think? Okay, I'm going to parse all that information, and I'm going to listen, and I'm going to actually improve the product where each of your individual perspectives lends it best. And I think in the end, as long as you are working in a group that allows that, you're going to have really cool results.
Where there are no ego fights between people.
Yes, and that's very hard, especially in the game. In AAA, it's very, very difficult to put your ego to the side. But if you do, you always get better results. And to Danny's point, what my
also comes from the validation point that you sorry to interrupt you, that Danny talked about, that I feel like even in indie and in AAA, if people's opinion don't lie up about the development process and they fight within their ego sphere, they end up doing that because they need validation from the people who they make games for, right? I remember this story about the drama of the two creators of Limbo, that it turned up to public nowadays, and it was crazy to see that such a good game and such a high impact game had these stories we might not even know are real or not, because of course media goes for clicks nowadays, but if those stories are real, it's sad to see that people fight it with each other
Yeah.
over those ideas,
Cra-
right? Over
Oh.
over a very high impacted game that can shape our world for a better. So it's like,
Yeah. I've seen so many amazing creative projects just go sideways because people just can't work together, you know? And the biggest thing that I like is building a team of people that know how to work together, but also respect each other on certain levels. Like, you have to be able to trust another person on your team to do XYZ. And if you don't have that trust or you can't express it, there might be problems. But if you do have it and you build on it for years, it lends itself to creating a kind of experience that's unlike anything else. In film, you call it a film. You call it a film family. Like, if I'd shoot a movie, and for like 6 months, I would just, these people I would live with for 12 hours a day, and then after that, I never see them again. But for 6 months, we were like literally brother and sister. We were like, uncle and son, or uncle and nephew. The point is, you get these really close relationships with people, and then all of a sudden they're out of your life, and it sucks because you work to make really cool stuff together. And I think that game dev, more than anything else, that's where you need to build those teams, because once you have it working well, oh man, you're capable of the best, coolest art possible. I mean, look at Team Cherry. Team Cherry was like, let us cook on this game, and then after they did, they're like, let's see what we do next. But they had so much experience working together. They delivered like arguably one of the best sequels I've seen in like 10 years. Like, it's a good sequel. It has its issues, but I would say overall, what an impressive entry into the next Hollow Knight game. So this is my way of saying, if you can build a team that knows how to work together and you can refine it to make it so each one of them are playing at their strengths and you have the respect to listen to them, you're going to make something cool. If you can just get out of your own way, that's a big part of it. But if you can do that, you're going to find a relationship there that like you can probably pursue forever. Like, I know I'm going to be hitting up Danny for probably as long as I live. And same thing with Radiant, same thing with like my whole team. Like, I will literally be bothering them first before we do anything else. So like, when it comes to our next game, or even the 20th
and I'm
game
sure
I
that
make
they
from
appreciate it, because it really means that it's a second family for everyone, right? So
yeah, and that's what I'm getting at, is that the beautiful part about working on art together is that you can find that family I mentioned before. You don't have to be alone in creating these crazy things. You can find like-minded individuals that share not only that feeling but a perspective, or at least can see it in a way you have it and make it better. And if you can respect that and you let them change it in that way to make it a better experience outside your own perspective, you're only going to have a better product. So this is my way of saying, like, I like building a family with the people that I work with, and I think that collaboratively look towards respecting the people you work with, not necessarily gauging them for their performance and like what their input is. Just respect it. Look at their perspective, respect what their choices are, listen, and then see what happens. And if you do and it works, pretty soon you're going to have a pretty cool team that you can like talk with forever. And that is magic to me. I literally want to do that until the day I die, because like I care more about the people that I'm sitting here now than I care about some of my actual family. I'm not going to name names, but that's true.
Yeah, you bet on people. I think that's valuable. Bet on people.
Damn straight.
More than anything else. That's where the value is. I agree.
Absolutely.
I think a perfect example of people working together well is, any game that Sakurai makes, be it the Kirby Air Ride series, be it Super Smash Brothers, it has such a clear visual language. Like, I think about those menus and those icons and the way that they work together, and Sakurai's wife is the UI designer. And you can tell that they work together and they live together and they do life together, because it creates such a cohesive image for the game that just can't be replicated in any other way.
I agree. I think it's really impressive and it's very functional. Personally, I hate it. I wish Smash Brothers had a better UI, but artistically, I respect the hell out of it, and they do work together. Radiant, you are not kidding. The way the menus actually animate and pop out and show where you're going, like, it shouldn't work, but it does. So it's just my perspective. I'm like, I don't like it. It's icky. But on an actual professional level, I'm like, no, it's amazing. It's effortless. It's really smart design. On a personal level, I can disagree. But on a professional level, respect. Game recognizes game.
Have you seen the UI for the new Kirby game? They made the menus. Oh, it's so cool. They made the menus look like a wooden desk, and like all the items are like cards on it, and like little like figurines that you can move around. It's so cool.
That's so cool. All right, I gotta check that out. Sorry, hopefully that wasn't too long of a lesson.
No. To frame our conversation here with the closing question, since at the beginning of our conversation you showed us your physical memories of your past, right, from your collection. I'm a huge fan of collecting video games in a physical form too. My closing question would be: do fans can like be hyped for some physical editions of Ink Inside, or can people wait for any physical editions, or it's a secret, or no spoilers?
Okay, so I'm just gonna be very honest, and here's the honest answer.
Okay.
We have a path forward for a physical edition. We really want to make one. Our publisher's on board. Everything is good to go. The problem is, right now in 2025, physical carts are very expensive. Very expensive. So the only path forward we have is a special edition that includes the art book and soundtrack with the game, which is great, but we can only get there if enough people buy the game now. Like, there's not going to be a special edition if you wait too long.
Listen up, people. Buy the game. Promotion time.
Please do.
That's it now.
You do. Yeah, I promise you. If you buy the game now and you wait for a special edition and you were like, I bought the game and I waited, I will gift you a special edition.
Okay.
Email help at Ink Inside if you heard about it here. I'm not joking.
Okay.
Like we had a Kickstarter.
Maybe
I am delivering on promises from like a year and a half from now, and I'm going to make this one good.
Okay, all right.
Anyone watching the stream,
Love
help
it.
at inkinsidegame.com. If you buy the copy now and like a year from now we have a physical copy and you're like, I bought it back then, prove it to me and I will gift you like the physical copy from my own money because I love you that much, like sincerely. I just
Okay.
Just
Clip
have-
it, guys. Clip it, guys.
I want to make this game successful for all of us. That's the least I can do.
I love that, by the way. I love that. That's passion, man. That's
They pay
passion.
shipping though, right? No.
No, I'll pay shipping. I don't
Shipping
care.
on you.
Yeah, you live in Antarctica. I will take a plane there myself because I really want to see penguins.
Or you will invite them to your place and have it, right? With the handshake
Well,
included.
Sure, I guess that's not as fun, but that could work. Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
There was a point of view developer that made fun of his Kickstarter. Just for fun, he said that for $1 for the bakers, he will give a handshake IRL for those who paid him $1. It was so funny when he said that. I love that. And he meant it,
awesome.
by the way. So he meant it
Oh.
that if somebody is near at his place, come visit
Yep.
me and I will invite you
Oh.
for a tea. It's so crazy. But
I
it
s-
shows
I-
passion, right? So
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
sincerely mean it too. Like I had like the worst thing happen about 4 weeks ago. The motherboard of my computer went bad, and it was like critical. I had to finish some stuff, obviously. So I emergency figured out that I needed to get it replaced. Got a replacement, but I did not do the replacement. I went to a really cool shop that's local. I had them do it. They're great, and I thanked them profusely. And as soon as my computer booted up in their office, I got 3 keys from the system. I was like, "Here's the game. Play it for free, please." And they're like, "Oh, thanks. Okay." And then literally one of the guys in the back is like, "I play Switch games with my girlfriend all the time. Do you have a Switch code?" And I was like, "I will bring you a Switch code when we release." And literally 2 days ago,
That's so
I went
nice
by
of
that
you, man.
shop with a bunch of cards with Switch codes on it. I was like, "I owe you." So yeah, I mean, it was literally they were closing, but I just came in. Here you go. That's done. Because at the end of the day, man, it's not just about making this game. It's about building a community. It's about making something fun.
yeah,
it's
and give and
about
take.
making
Give and
the-
take. Don't forget to give.
Yeah, exactly.
very true,
Yeah,
very
damn
true.
straight.
Very
Yeah.
true.
All right.
Thank you
I love
so
it.
much,
That's-
by the way. Thank you so much for,
Yeah,
for
no,
everything, for the whole conversation, and for your honesty, each one of
Likewise.
you with honesty, speaking
Yeah.
about these topics. And for those who are watching us or will be watching via YouTube version or Twitch VOD version, like I said, I will need some minutes, 4 or 5 minutes of stream of yours. But for those who are watching us live or will be watching back our VOD version or YouTube version, thank you that you joined us for today's episode of my Dev Live show. And don't forget to try out and buy Ink Inside for the physical
Thank
edition
you.
as well. And yeah,
Thank you.
have a great
Really appreciate it.
yeah. Thank you
Nice
for
stream.
that. Thank you everyone who joined us, and have a great day or night depending where